79T 2458 Learning Corp. Little Red Riding Hood. Take one.
Hey! My favorite part about this is this sets everybody up for like a tone of like some synthwave dystopic thing, and then we're just like, yeah, two brown people talking. Hey, what's up, Ellie?
Oh, hey, what's up, mixed boy? How's it going?
Yeah, dude, I like it, honestly. It's the oh yeah, so Red Morning, welcome guys, you know the deal. Like, subscribe. Yeah, I'm sure you guys, if you haven't seen Allie, you will now. For a lot of you guys, I know you're off of Twitter, and I have a blast. She is the, I don't even know, well, how would you refer to, like, if I want to refer to you with respect to like the sphere and all this stuff, where would you put yourself?
Oh, okay. Well, I would say I live the red pill. I don't make 4-hour live streams about it, is kind of what I would say. Right? Like I'm the young maiden, pregnant and married with an older man, and I like cleaning my house and I like live streaming because what's wrong with making a buck? And that's pretty much it. I'm Christian.
Congratulations, by the way. I don't think I've said that publicly yet.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I'm Christian. My husband's agnostic. We live in the Midwest. We're conservative, but I promise those people are also artards as well. So
oh, I don't mind monetization, you know, because what is it? You know, my catch line is like critically undervalued or whatever. It's because I basically make some decisions that ultimately harm growth, but I like it. It gives you a much better group of guys.
Yeah, well, I don't know what happened where we couldn't say the word retard anymore. Right? Like growing up, it was fine. And then now it's like, oh, well, that's not okay. And I'm sitting here like most of the people that actually are right cognitively, physically disabled, we're not talking about them. We're talking about like people that are physically abled and cognitively abled that are acting like they're not, you know?
Yeah. Dude, my boss, when I was sailing my P2, I don't know what I think it's like a sergeant equivalent in the army. He was gay. And it was the funniest thing ever. If anybody on the ship was ever acting like, you know, effeminate and kind of goofy and antisocial, he would just call them a fag. And it's like, I didn't realize that there's no comeback to that. Like a 6'2" gay guy laughing at you calling the guy.
No, that's
and then not only that, but like the entire mess laughing at you too, right? Oh man, it was the best way to get guys to like toughen up a bit. I loved it. But yeah, all right. So where was it going here? All right, welcome guys, Sunhat Army. Oh, you don't know that gimmick either, do you?
I know that apparently a lot of these trad women, they be wearing sun hats. That sun hat, I haven't seen it in years. I don't know where it went, but it's cute. It'll make any ugly woman look good. Whoa. Okay, if you're a 5, it'll bring you up to a 6, but if you're below a 5, I don't think a sun hat can save you.
Gotcha, it's an amplifier.
Yes.
Yeah, because that was my joke, is that girls would enjoy their 20s, slutting around, doing their thing. And then once they hit 28, they decide to put on a summer dress and a sun hat and go take a photo in a cornfield and go find themselves a good husband. There was this Twitter account that kind of got me started on that. Her name was Dax something. I don't remember. Bunch of like she basically had all the stereotypes of the manosphere, like tattoos, colored hair. And then all of a sudden one day she started baking cookies, and it was just I found it to be the funniest thing ever. And so it's my way of kind of like, I don't know, cheerfully teasing you a little bit, I think.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know.
You have a good sense of humor and a thick skin, so I want to thank the military for that.
I think I've got a paper thin skin. No, the military gave me a backbone. I used to be like a real pushover. But now my problem is that I fight too much. That's my new issue. Because I'm just like, I'm not the type of person to back down from a fight unless it's my husband, because that's stupid. Like, imagine arguing with somebody like bigger than you who pays your bills. Like, I'm good.
Oh, geez. I was gonna say you should have a convention, some kind of 22 convention full of chicks, and tell them don't fight with the guy who pays the bills.
Well, I mean, just in general. I mean, not that I'm good at it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm still a woman. I do my best, but it's like, this is one of the cool things, because the mainstream is like, oh, don't marry a military woman. Well, if you're a military guy and you marry a military woman, sometimes it's actually a benefit, because I don't have to wonder or question if he was stressed at work. Because I just know.
I feel bad. So that's on me. I've been like military. You know, the most people that hate military women are military men. Just for dating, I've dated 3 in my life, and it's probably the 3 of the top 4 women that I would recommend everybody avoid like the plague. So I will admit, they broke the mold when they made you. I'm
Oh,
assuming.
oh, thank you. Thank you. Well, I think you just might have been, you didn't go low enough in rank, right? She has to need you. This is like the Dennis method, right? She has to need you. So it can't be like you're an E5 or something. You got to do like 04 to E5 or so kind of like what I did. But I
Oh.
was a civilian when my husband married me. But yes, they have to depend on you. They need a rough life. No, I'm kidding.
I like it. Oh, dude, that's hilarious.
Thank you.
Well, here, this is the one thing, one of the big reasons I started following you, because I liked
Mhm.
it, because you have one of those things that people don't have, like you're sincere. Like you
Aw.
genuinely look like you want to do what you want to do. Like every time I see you on this, I don't think you A/B tested it. I don't think you talked to marketing. I don't think you jumped on a bandwagon just because Pearly did, or I don't
Mhm.
know, Rolo or whatever. And so I enjoy that. I think there needs to be more of it.
Mhm.
Obviously, I think the separation between men and women in the sphere is kind of a good thing, with like a little bit of co-ed stuff in the middle, whatever.
Mhm.
Where was I going with this one? It was like a long-winded compliment that had a point and a subtle neg in it, and now I've totally lost my train of
Mi-
thought because I haven't finished my first cup of coffee, and I feel really bad. Your hair looks great, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you. So that would be the Spaniard in me, I think, is that's where I'm getting the texture from, I think.
Oh,
So yeah, maybe the thickness is from the Native American side.
wait, wait,
But
wait. So, can I
yeah.
ask what your mix is? What's your mix?
Yeah, so I talk about this all the time because I'm racially ambiguous. So I try to have racial conversations because I think it's real. I think the stuff that whatever. So I'm Puerto Rican, which means I'm African, Spaniard, and Taino native, which is just Caribbean native from Brazil.
Oh,
And so yeah, but I noticed a lot of things because I'm conservative, right? And so one of the things that I noticed when it came to my genetic makeup and race was, well, people Puerto Ricans, we don't identify at all with the Spaniards. But when I did my DNA test, I'm like primarily Spaniard, mostly Spaniard, as you can imagine from my skin tone. So then you look at like power dynamics, and everyone's like, "Oh, these Spaniards are these horrible conquerors." You go back like a couple hundred years, like southern Spain was conquered by the Moors. So if you just wait, you'll never know who's on top, right? And so that's why I think race politics is kind of dumb.
oh, I know what you're getting
Mhm.
at. Yeah, yeah, dude.
Yeah.
So I know I talked to you before about Royce, and he was like one of the three guys. He, Rolo, and Roosh kind of started the red pill thing. Like
Mhm.
they're the ones that popularized it, which really sucks because I like Royce a lot, but he hates mud people. So I'm just like, it hurts a little bit too. But I'm
Mhm.
kind of like you, except for I'm it's typical Canadian mutt, right? Like English, Irish, German, and then a little bit of Portuguese. But on the DNA test, that comes out as West African. So I'm like, oh, cool.
Oh my gosh, maybe you're Puerto Rican. Oh
Yep.
my goodness. Do you like plantains?
What the heck's a plantain?
It's a banana that isn't like
Oh,
the normal. It's a banana that you don't put in a smoothie. You fry
this
it in a pan.
the fried banana stuff. I love fried
Mhm.
bananas. Have it with maple syrup. It's the most
Oh,
Canadian, like Jamaican Canadian thing you've ever had.
okay, Jamaican. That makes sense. I was like, what's going
Like in the chat, I thought Ali was Mexican. Do you
on?
get the same issue I get, don't you? Wherever somebody went to vacation last, that's what you are?
No, no. In Florida, people can tell that I'm Puerto Rican. It's like if I'm in a predominantly white area, I get assumed to be white, which is interesting because I change colors.
Ugh.
So that was one aspect, and but the other one I get a lot is Asian, which is fair. I mean, I'm like fairly Native American. That the slanted eye thing can get
Like as
traced
in
to
Filipino
indigenous people.
Asian, or because I don't see Chinese.
Oh no, no, it's just like my eye shape. But thank you
Oh.
for that. Well, I mean, yeah, Filipino. I'm the help, so.
Yeah, I mean that's basically Spanish anyway. The most popular Filipino name is Santos, for fuck's sakes.
Yeah, right. Facts.
But I like it. Honestly, my favorite thing is messing with like awkward, don't want to be racist people, because they always ask you like, where are you from? And I'm like, oh, I lived on Vancouver Island at the time, but I was from Alberta. And they go, oh, okay. Where are your parents from? And I'm like, oh, well, my mom and dad were both from like in Alberta and Saskatchewan. So I guess
Mhm.
prairie people. And then you're watching them try to like, how can I word this to not drop an R bomb or something? And I just laugh. And they go,
No, yeah.
yeah, what's your heritage? I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm mostly Irish.
Okay. I think it's simple. Just ask people what their ethnicity is, because I
Yeah.
think it's a cool story. But yeah, I'm with you. Thanks for having me on. I'm having fun so far. I feel like this is probably hard for the audience to follow, but hey, you guys will be fine. Don't
Oh,
worry
they're
about it.
good. Honestly,
Good.
I'll tell you a story. It was
Mm,
one of our Rule Zero episodes, and we were talking about, I don't know, Whammon doing something or looks money game for the 15th time. I don't remember. And then at
mhm,
one point, we're all kind of bantering with each other, having a normal human conversation, being social, like, the normies do. And then somebody sent a super chat, like a $50 super chat saying, You guys should do an episode on how to be normal and functional and charming and all this stuff. It'd be great. And I lost it on the guy. I'm like, that's every fucking episode. Because like, say what you want about the sphere. We can talk about, like, I was there, and I'm sorry that I was so harsh on it, but your studies episode you did.
Oh, well, yeah. Okay. So I was actually talking to my husband about this last night.
Really? You're talking about me with your husband? That's not cool.
No statistics, right? Because
wait. That's even worse. You're talking to statistics?
What do you? Yeah, that's my marriage. No, because my thing is, I don't like to. I know some statistics by heart already, and I've researched them, and they're like in my mind. But in regard to like sample size and things like that. But my thing is like I can find a study that says it's not good to implement corporal punishment with children. And then I can find an equal and opposite study that says it is good to incorporate corporal punishment with children. And so to me, I think it's just like painting whatever narrative you want. But my husband was just saying, well, no, screw that, because you just so that you look better. Because I make a lot of racial observations. And so he was just telling me, look, you're not wrong. And I know I'm not wrong. But he's like, people are going to want to see data and statistics on it. So start doing that. And I was like, well, why does it even really matter if it's just, it's just numbers that you can find the opposite to? He's like, your audience can find the opposite numbers. Well, I was like, oh, okay.
That's kind of like Canada's kind of come to this conclusion from that, where they realize like Maru Group and all these different polling agencies that make these studies, they literally are just like, what is it you want to see? And we'll cater the study to find you. I find like the replication crisis makes it too difficult, but better way to put it, Black Dragon, Caleb Jones. I don't know if you know who he is. He's like one of those old Manosphere figures, the ones I keep reminding you of when you have like an epiphany and you're like, oh, here was the guy 5 years ago who said it first. So he was talking about the statistics about getting divorced, right? Like find a girl with a low notch count, all the gimmicks for that, right?
Yeah.
And he went down the list and he's like, well, I passed this one. He passed like every statistic you could find on how to have a lifelong, wonderful marriage. And he had all of them. And he's like, she still left. And I think that was important when he realized like statistics aren't guidance. Statistics are just like analyzing, like stepping on your dick and analyzing the footprint, as I call it. So I don't like them. Plus that I find like, you look at who are the popular people right now doing, Redditor research. It's like Tim Pool, Vaush, like all those weirdos, right?
I love Tim Pool because I think he makes Rolo's forehead vein pop every time he talks about something that Rolo's already talked about. That's what I think. Yeah. So he's always like,
he doesn't really talk stats. Like he says, he talks authoritatively, like he has stats, but he never actually cites anything. Well, and when he does, he doesn't understand the stuff he cites.
Yeah, well, I think it just gets to a point where you're kind of an entertainment figurehead. But I'm starting to have these racial conversations. I don't give a crap anymore. So I will be finding these studies. So, but I was telling my husband too. You're
gonna love Steve Saylor when you find out about him, by the
way. Right. But I was talking to my husband. I was like, I kind of think sociological studies aren't even that good. And he was like, they're not. They very rarely can be replicated. I'm like, so why do I need to find them? And he's like, just do it for your audience. Just do it so they shut up. And I was like, okay, all right.
They want an authority. They want an appeal to an authority. That's how COVID got as bad as it was. I don't know how bad it was where you're at, but up here it was basically like outdoor prisons. It was Escape from LA minus the LA. And that's because everybody wanted authority. So some doctor who just had doctor after his name, forget that he was a doctor of English, was telling everybody you got to stay at home and wear 5 masks. And that's just the way people are. They're sheep in search of a shepherd. And this is why, and I don't know, for what it's worth, my advice to, like, you didn't ask for it and you probably won't take and you don't care.
No, I'll
probably
give it.
Not even good advice. But the whole point of Red Pill wasn't to tell people what to think. It was to teach them how to think. It's the idea that all these authorities have kind of let you down. It's like feminists had 3 generations to raise like healthy men and they failed miserably. So we got it from here. A bunch of goofy pickup artists, the last line of defense for like the soul of mankind. Like how sad is that, right?
Well, yeah, actually quite sad.
But that's the point. Then you just don't need studies. It's like, well, okay, there's a study saying this and this. Okay, is there any way I can test this in my life? Like, I don't know, pick any study. And it's like, is there something I can do to see if this is true or not? And if there's not, then it's just masturbation. It's like, oh, I feel really smart because I know fruit flies share the DNA of the last 3 lovers they had. But is that going to keep Cindy from cheating on you with your brother? No. No,
that's the craziest one. I've been hearing some crazy stuff from men lately. What's that one where they think that the DNA of the men that you sleep with can end up in the DNA of the future child you have with a male partner?
Yeah, that was a study based off of some people with fruit flies who, and I don't know how it, like of the specifics of it. I don't know. I wasn't good at the methodology at the time. The study was so ridiculous. I'm like, I'm just going to put it in the more research required category and never look at it
Yeah,
again. But then the looks maxers keep bringing it up.
yeah,
And then,
well,
but
it's
yeah, that's
almost
when they
yeah.
say because fruit
Mhm.
flies love the DNA of like the last 3 flies. So that's why chicks are fucking everybody. I'm just like, you know, that leap, that like 9/11, like, well, this happened, therefore George Bush is Illuminati goat herder. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
That leap.
Oh man. Well, that was one, right? Which I thought was, I still think that it's absolutely insane. And I'll see some people post it, and like I just don't like misinformation in general. But oh my goodness, like that's not how it works. If you've ever been pregnant, yes, like the DNA of that pregnancy does like stay and is detectable. So technically, like some dude's DNA is somewhere pregnant, right? And you could have been pregnant for 3 days, and that's true. But it's not like the next baby comes on in there is going to be somehow be contributed by the last dude. It doesn't even make sense. And the other
No,
one too is like these guys really think. Well, you're normal, so
I
these
hope
guys
so.
really think that penises out a woman's cookie. And that's not how that works. They think
Yeah.
it permanently stretches it out. This is not how that goes. I was
Dude,
shocked.
I would love if that was the case. I really would. That would be the biggest, like, literally destroyed the pussy. But I'm like, after like the first one of my friends, when he had his first kid, he was like, after seeing the size of that kid, I just gave up on that fantasy.
Mhm.
But that's everything,
Yeah.
right? They don't want real people. They want to talk about people like they're aliens and they're reading about them in books.
It's freaky. And it's like my thing about the red pill is, take the pill, not the bottle, relax with it. But
Hey, got to give a shout out to Juan here.
thanks. You're welcome. People kept saying that one. That was a fun one. Hey, Doug, how are you? That's my guy. He's
Oh,
very
nice.
cool. Thanks. Well,
Yeah, well, I agree. All these
mhm,
studies are they're horrible, and the people that repeat
mhm.
them are horrible. And you've seen it yourself. They didn't even know the studies. Like one gentleman, the one on your channel, likable guy, seemed perfectly normal, didn't know the difference between a quant and a qual study, which is like, what isn't it yourself? You said it's like first year you learned.
Well, yeah, that's research methods 101. And so it's like people will come on my channel and be like, "What do you mean by these studies, Allie? What are you talking about?" And then I'll talk about it, and they're like, "Well, it's quantitative and qualitative data." I'm like, get out of here. What do you mean? So I did a whole live stream. I said, "Hey, you guys want to be able to read studies? I will pay for your application fee to apply to undergrad, because this is ridiculous. Like, I'm just a YouTuber who wants to talk about like intergender dynamics and conservatism. Y'all want me to sit down and give you a full research methods lesson? Like, no, what y'all? Ryan, come get these Spurs. You know what though? I'm gonna say, one of the things that I took for granted was my manosphere red pill Spurs. These guys did bother me,
Hmm.
right? They have nothing on Tradcast Twitter. They have nothing. I was
Oh, we're going to that. All
ungrateful.
right, one sec.
I
I gotta
missed.
add the timestamp. I was gonna add it later. I was gonna add it at 20 minutes, but 18 works. All right,
Oh yeah.
get on the Catholics.
Well, okay. I was so ungrateful. I just wish, if somebody could just yell at me about hypergamy one last time. Just one last time to get, just for old time's sake. But
Oh, a lot of the
yeah.
audience though, they're not on Twitter. So could you give like a 30-second elevator pitch? Like, what are you talking about?
Okay. Twitter is a cesspool. I liked it, and then 2,000 subs in, it was like not very fun anymore. Right. So I made a post that said, "I don't understand women who get absurdly fat." Oh, I'm standing by the tweet though, and it's pinned, and I'm not taking it down. It's going to be there for a very long time. I don't understand women who get absurdly fat from pregnancy. Progesterone slows your digestion. Fact. And eventually the baby squishes on your stomach, so you can only eat a couple of small meals a day.
Right.
I don't get it. And I don't know what happened, but Tradcast Twitter found me. It's a niche, and it's a bunch of thin white women who have a lot of babies that are traditional and Catholic. And then some of the women were Orthodox, but I was like thoroughly perplexed. And then they got mad at me for pointing out the race, right? But I was like, if a gang of tall Asian men who were Jewish.
Well done, by the way, as far as like avoiding all of the terms of service violations, you could not have picked a better demographic to
Right. Well, if
tall Asian men.
Well, no, I'll do you one better. Tall Asian Jewish men. If a group of tall Asian Jewish men showed up responding to this tweet, I would be like, yo, what's up with this niche? Like, what is up with this demographic? But then they called me racist. But you'll see these conservatives on Twitter. Whenever there's black on black crime on Twitter, they'll like retweet it and they're like, I'm noticing a pattern here. I'm like, I'm noticing a pattern with you guys. What is this?
Dude. Okay, look, I don't know the chick side of things. I just know from the husband side, because you would be surprised. That's like a fairly large demographic of guys that come to the red pill. And it's not because of conservatism or saving the West. It's because their sex lives are absolutely abysmal. And it turns out there's like, this is another reason why like a lot of the red pill guys say conservatism's not your friend either. No offense.
No, it's true. I know, I don't dispute.
Yeah, well, okay, picture this. The priest and your family and your friends and your brother and your dad are telling this chick since he was 2 years old, sex is bad, you're going to go to hell, it's evil, you have sex once, you're going to get AIDS and die of Michael Jordan disease or Magic Johnson disease or whatever. And for 18 years, she's had that drilled into her head. And then she finally gets pregnant at whatever age she gets pregnant at. And they're like, okay, now sex is great. Give me a bunch of kids. And they're wondering like why all of a sudden this chick has some sexual hookups. And then not to mention the Chads, like in her early 20s, there was, I don't know if you remember this, but like for a lot of the Catholic girls, a lot of fun, by the way. That holes for God was like the saying. In other words, the other two were open for business.
I have heard.
Yeah. So you get like that weird sexual repression and that need to take control of your sexuality with like subversive kink stuff. Then you add a husband to it, who's essentially the beta bucks. They only have sex for procreation now. That's why you see all those idiot guys who are like, masturbation is evil and stuff. They're basically coping with the complete lack of sex lives with their wives.
Oh, okay. This makes a lot of sense because like one of these chicks, and this is so funny. Look, I love my agnostic alpha male that looking like a whole Chad. I don't give a crap. Thank you, Sean. Sean is from my neck of the woods. You ever see him? Do you ever see him on here?
No, well, I've seen him on here, and it sucks, guy. You keep telling him, leave a comment or something. He leaves these very generous super chats, but then
so
just
he
like
likes you too. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I like him obviously, but I mean, like a hello or something, or get me to talk about the cuck article, whatever.
The incident.
But I cut you off. Please continue.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Shout out to Sean and thank you. I love seeing his little name pop up. Every time I talk about something conservative, he donates, and it gives me the driving force to keep talking about it because the pivot's not the easiest. You know, surprisingly, the algorithm likes red pill content more than it likes like conservative for me. Moving on. Right. So these women, they're very proud of submitting to their beta husbands. And I noticed that this woman was talking about just how great her husband is and how much she submits to him. And woman is like taking a video of this man eating cereal out of a bag. And I was like, that I don't think alpha means what you think it means, honey. Because my husband would
at least turn the box sideways and open it up like the way you had with the mini cereal boxes back in the day.
Yeah, well, I think Christian women are actually, this is the thing I've been noticing too. They're a lot more feminist than they even lead on because I think they're actually scared. Imagine if your man actually wakes up the next day, realizes the masculinity and the power that he has. Yeah. You're gonna be terrified, you know, because like, what if he starts stepping out? What about all these other things? And I think that they seek to look for men that they can control. And if you'll notice, a lot of the times when you hear sermons and things like that, it's always about how the husband can be of service, the servant husband, a servant leader, and very rarely does it ever come up about a wife being of service to her husband, and very rarely does it come up about how women are commanded to respect their husbands and husbands are commanded to love their wives. Like the husbands loving their wives, that always comes up. The women respecting their husbands, it never comes up. And I'm just like, y'all some feminists. Jesus would never advocate for this.
Lion tamers, man. Lion tamers. Do you ever notice, like, you know, how you ever see that the circus, the lion tamers, they have the chair and then the whip and they crack the whip and the lion acts right? Was it you I was telling this before? But like the one rule that the lion tamers have is never hit the lion with the whip. because
it's only there to scare them.
yeah, it's only there to scare them. Once you hit them with it, they realize it doesn't hurt so bad, and then they're gonna go lion. That's exactly what this
no.
is. It's I hate I reference Rollo very rarely, but it's actually one of these ones that only he and I think Dalrock talk about, where
Mm-hmm.
they build all of these things, all of these, like, you got to do better. The priests are shitting on you. The wives are berating you. It's just lion taming because they need the husband to act right. And then they build up all these social, like, that's
Mhm.
what he means when he talks about feminine imperative.
Yeah. So this is like actually something that I learned. Well, I don't think I've ever talked about this online, but I'm actually I feel
Ooh,
good about
exclusive.
Yeah, no, it's exclusive. So I mean, I'm on my second marriage, right? I'm very candid about this, and if anybody has a problem with
now.
it, oh yeah, no, if anybody has a problem with it, look, I don't care. I got the house, health insurance, the hot boy, and the baby,
So it's like 305 now, not even 304s. Like, you went up a number.
Yeah, precisely, Ryan. Okay. No, one of the things that I reflected on, because all you can reflect on in a divorce from I don't know about the man's perspective, from the woman's perspective, you can't control what that other person did. You only control what you did. I really sat and I thought and I looked at my behavior, and the thing about being like a henpecking woman, which obviously I don't think it was my intent, right? I think you just do what you know. You
Mhm.
never know if you're the reason that guy just kind of like lost his masculinity, because I do think that you can push a man too far. I think you can crush a man's spirit. 100%. I think you can crush a man's spirit. And so like, that's something that I had to like really strongly consider. And I had to rethink everything that I ever thought about relationships and how it works. Because if you break a man's spirit, you will become the leader. And that's not necessarily a fun position to be in as a woman. But for women that wreak havoc in their marriages, I think a lot of them don't reflect on, did I do that? And that was a question that I had. And I'm oh my gosh, I felt horrible about it. I still feel horrible about it to this day. Granted, things ended amicably, apparently.
Apparently. Wouldn't
Well,
you know?
No.
He hasn't talked shit about me on Facebook for like 2 weeks. I think this is progress.
No, I've gotten feedback. I've gotten feedback from this other individual, and to where, yeah, things pretty much were amicable. I really didn't know what I was doing. I think about these Christian women because I know female nature, like the dark side of it. So I wonder what these women are doing behind closed doors, and it's not a good thing. And so like I just very much like I learned what I needed to learn. You got to fix what you can fix if you're a divorcee as a woman. And I don't think it necessarily makes us use goods either, because it means we weren't in the streets. I mean,
well,
hopefully.
It's like whether it's accurate or not is kind of irrelevant to me. The whole used goods monkey branching thing. It's that it's just not a useful or productive thing. Like, for us to talk about, we can turn somebody like you online, for example, into a brand personality, like a telenovela. Oh, she's monkey branch. Oh no, she's good. She's this. It's people just living vicariously through others. And I don't find like that's not red pill. Like, I used to make fun of Donovan Sharp all the time because he would watch like Love Island. And then, by the way, guys, this highly edited, scripted reality TV show, here's the lessons you need to take to handle your bitches. And I'm just like, why don't we just use Spider-Man at that point,
Yeah.
And they're literally trying to turn you into the Ric Flair of the manosphere, like the heel.
Look, I don't care.
You think you're Hulk Hogan, but they want you to be Ric Flair. And so you guys are sitting here having WrestleMania 7. Meanwhile, the whole time, not one steel chair comes out. So I'm rather unimpressed. Although Nick August was right. The cat fights have gotten remarkably better since you got here. So I do want to thank you for that. Twitter has become like awesome. Awesome.
Oh, thank you. Thanks. Well, that's the thing, is I make everyone upset. I make men upset. I make women upset. And it's not intentional, because again, talking to the mans last night, I was like, am I a provocateur? He's like, Milo Yiannopoulos, he's a provocateur. And I'm like, should I be one? He was like, no, that's a stupid idea. No, that's not. it's not a good idea.
Nothing to do with you. Like, honestly, people aren't mad. Like, when people yell at me online, I realize they're not yelling at me. They're yelling at what they think I am. That fantasy. And same thing with you. You're not Allie. I hate to say this, but you're not a person. You are women trademark. Yeah. They look at you and they think, okay, Fresh and Fit said this about 304s, and then Tate did Muslim, and then you're the archetype of that entire narcissistic fantasy, and then I'm going to build you up to be something that I can yell at and knock off its pedestal, because that way I feel better about that bitch who shut me down and flaked on me last week. That's really all this boils down to.
Right. So yeah, I see what you're saying. This is one of the things that I think is a problem with red pill. And I think the thing is like, it depends on like, who's the content creator that you're watching? What are their credentials? I think you've got good credentials because you've done it for over 10 years in terms of like getting case reports from guys. Right. So I think that's good. But if you're like a woman, ready, willing, able to follow and wants to fall in love, and you're like an actually decent human being, if you meet a guy and he's always like side-eyeing you, like, you gonna take off my stuff, like, that's gonna put you off, right? Because you could be literally that dream waifu, but this dude's always like, you're gonna take off my things, aren't you? You're like, well, I wasn't thinking about it, but you keep bringing it up. It's kind of getting on my nerves. Like, why am I in this relationship again?
Have you read The Emasculation Paradox or no?
No, should I?
Yeah, it's the very first red-pilled concept ever. 2008, the very first red pill post was from this guy, Hawaiian libertarian, Keone Galt. The channel knows what I'm talking about. And he was talking about how game is red pill, the idea of like the same as like those Catholics that we're talking about, the lion taming with the husbands. He started to notice that this was going everywhere. And the one thing he noticed was these no-win scenarios where girls like, do I look fat in these jeans? If you say no, then she thinks you're lying. If you say yes, then she cries because she's fat. What paint color do you like? And whatever color you pick is wrong. And so guys would just stop picking. Or divorce. Guys are like, well, if she can take half my stuff, if I supplicate and act submissive, then she won't be mad at me and then she won't do it. The emasculation paradox is...
Oh, that's like the opposite.
Yeah, exactly. The opposite of this is like, well, that seems intuitive. What actually happens is being willing to stand up for yourself is the only way that a girl can respect you enough to not want to take you to the cleaners. And so guys have to act counter to how they've been raised. And this is where I would argue when you said, what is it, that you can henpeck a guy and whatever. I think you henpecking a guy to emasculate him is the same as me thinking my dick can crush that pussy. Like I think a guy has to want to.
My husband says that too. He's like, if dude is an alpha, there's nothing you can do to really do anything about it, because he's just not going to put up with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's not going to engage, or he'll just leave. I mean,
it's Frame. That's the whole concept of, I'm literally finished a book on Frame and it's going to the editors right now on just that concept. So I'm totally with you.
Okay. Well, I like that perspective more because it really clears my conscience on my stuff.
Well, of course it does. But you know what I mean? Like everybody loves having a villain. It's the Ric Flair thing. Oh, I wasn't a twerp. I wasn't weak. I wasn't like raised by a shitty parent to act like a chick. And I didn't, accidentally spend all my money trying to fight for my kids' things. And like all this stuff, it's all opt-in problems. Like we've created them all for ourselves. And then we want to blame somebody else, like the scapegoats. Remember back in the day in the Torah when they just sacrifice a goat and then all the sins of the community were gone? Just now the goats have headsets and Blue Yeti microphones and rant on 4-hour live streams about hypergamy.
Yeah. Well, I think about that. I don't know if women are necessarily like meant to have, people are not meant to have social media in general, right? But I think it's harder for women. I don't care.
We aren't meant to have clothes, technically.
Well, really fair point. My vitamin D is so low. Oh, I gotta buy that today. No, I think it's kind of tough. Like I wish that this stuff didn't bother me so much. But I think at the end of the day, like I'm a woman. I don't see how it wouldn't. But it's interesting, like analyzing my own psychology, like what comments bother me and what comments don't. Well, you know what bothers me? This is my biggest thing.
I know what bothers you. I see your tweets.
Oh, thank you. What bothers me is the depravity of man. I've never liked that. I've never liked witnessing it. I've never liked seeing it. And it's always like you think, well, from my perspective, you think, one demographic might behave a little bit better than the other demographic. And then you just end up finding out that all people are just people and they're capable of the same horrible, horrid shit. And it's like, I wasn't ready for this darkness. I believe I might be becoming a cynic, but I think my husband says I'm already there though. So I don't
I think you care too much to be cynical yet. Well, here, how you always tell your stories about like how rough it was growing up and those things?
Yeah.
I'll let you know. You're not alone. Like me growing up, I was raised in a small town that got like brutalized by NAFTA. That was like our gutting of our natural resource industry. My parents owned a logging company, a cement plant, and a bunch of firefighting equipment stuff. So yeah, I'm like in Roadhouse, I was the villain's son.
This is such a weird, very niche, like Canadian story. Like it's not we lost the farm, we lost the wood factory.
Yeah, we lost the wood factory. My stepdad had like a part-time side hustle working for the Hells Angels, chopping vehicles and stuff. So
Mhm.
I basically, I know what crack smells like, which is funny because like I'm more intimate with crack than Ed Lattimore. So
Oh,
I was raised around
interesting.
all these kind of people doing all this kind of degenerate stuff. And so when you talk about like, am I just getting cynical? That's all I've known. So I'm not really surprised by it. And
Mhm.
the one thing that bothers me is these people with very, and no offense to them, comfortable middle class lives who have never had to see this. They're
Mhm.
now getting exposed to it. They think it's some kind of failure of humanity. And I'm like, it's not really. This is what people act like when they aren't like held in place by, I don't want to lose my house or shit like that.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I wanted so much because this was a lecture in undergrad. I'm an anthropology major, and one of the classes that my professor had was "Are people good or are people bad?" And I want so much to be. Well, that's probably what's wrong with Jordan Peterson. Like I want people to be good. I'm like, no, they're good because I don't want to walk around being a cynic. But the more that people let you know what they really think online, you're like,
Yeah.
I think these people are evil. I think they're bad. I think that they would do the Holocaust again. I'm 100%. 100%. I think they would do it again. I think
Oh
they would do
yeah.
it
COVID taught you who's going to turn in Anne Frank.
again. Facts. That's what I'm saying. Talking about there. Did you see the Atlantic article talking about amnesty?
Dude, TikTok and YouTube have blown up with people telling these people to go pound sand. I think it's wonderful.
Oh
Fuck you.
man.
The one guy referenced
Yeah.
he was like the equivalent of going to a desert island, and then your neighbor was like automatically starting to eat people, and then you guys get a bus ride home, and he's like, "Wow, that was crazy, huh?" And you're like, "I don't think I could trust you anymore." But I
Yeah.
will push back. This is the
Mhm.
one thing about Red Pill that most people don't understand is that there's a fundamentally different way of approaching the world from what we call as Blue Pill. The one is factual objectivism versus factual subjectivism. And I'm getting the terms all muddled up, but you know what I mean. Like the
Mhm.
idea is there's one truth and that statements can be more or less factual, as opposed to like, chicks like it's my truth and it's just a codified example of your personal experiences, right? But
Mhm.
the important one for this sake is objective or subjective morality. And this is where Red Pill kind of takes the approach that things are good depending on who you are. Like they're good, like divorce is good for the
Oh.
wife who wants to leave her husband, bad for the husband that want to stay together, or
Okay.
vice versa. It's good for the kids because they didn't like abusive stepdad or abusive stepmom, or it's bad.
Mhm.
And so there's always winners and losers and everything. And then once you realize this, I kind of like, are people generally good or evil? And I'd argue it really just depends on what side of the fence you're on, right? And it makes things a
Hmm.
lot easier to put up with. Like even when I see like content like Fresh and Fit, I know you're a fan of them. I don't mind. Like Myron's fine, Walter's fine.
Oh, did
I
I
think the
say
brand
that?
is dog shit. I
Just- I think they're excellent businessmen, Ryan. That is my only
I think
opinion.
they're excellent businessmen. I think they're wonderful people. I think the brand is absolute dog
Mhm.
shit. But when I see this stuff,
Mm.
I realize like it's not them being bad red pillars or evil people. It's just it works for them, and the winners are them making their Maserati money every month, and the
Mhm.
losers are the average guy who watches it thinking this is going to help me, fix my marriage or get laid for the first time or any of that shit.
Mhm. Do you think guys can come back from a marriage? How can I put this? Or have there been men that have successfully were kind of beta blue pilled or
Mhm.
whatever, found the red pill and fixed their marriage and got the waifu of their dreams?
Yes and no. The waifu
Ooh.
of their dreams is they meet their goals, but their
Mhm.
goals change. For great example, when I first started this, there was a client I had when I was still doing consulting. He was in the military, he was a surgeon, and he came to me right as his wife cheated on him with their kid's soccer coach, and he's like, "How do I win her back?"
Mhm.
And then we had kind of gone through it. I had showed him some of the red pill ideas on how to know if your wife actually feels bad about cheating on you or just bad about getting caught. How to deal
Mhm.
with divorce, how to make some hard decisions. Good example, like I want to have time with my kids, fight for custody. But the
Mhm.
courts always look at military guys going, you could be deployed at any minute, so we can't
Yeah,
give
they
you
do
custody.
that.
So,
Mhm.
like, honest decision. Do you want your career or do you want your kids? And then he made this like 15 years. I just made lieutenant commander. Yeah, I want to keep my career.
Mhm.
And I'm like, that's great. Now you work with that. And a lot of guys, they try to have it both ways when they don't realize that there's trade-offs. Anyways, by the end of it, he was great. He had his bachelor pad. He was getting promoted at work. His kids liked him more. They even decided to stay with him because they didn't like the father who stepped up.
That's what I'm saying. Like that's what I think that men can get their
Yeah.
revenge. Yeah,
Well, it's
I
not
definitely
revenge.
think.
That's the point. Is by the time you're there, by the time you have a frame or like a coherent worldview, The idea of that 5'3" ex-army ex-wife as your arch nemesis seems kind of silly.
Well, they're usually, I mean, they're not much to moan about, to be honest. There's something wrong with military spouses. I'm just being real. Officer spouses are hot. They tend to make snacks more, but them enlisted spouses, I'm like, what happened? Oh, and why do privates marry strippers? They marry strippers and then they're upset.
I thought that was a Canadian thing.
No, they do it here too. You'll warn them. You're like, don't do it, bro. Don't do it. He's like, I love her. I love her.
Oh, of course they do. Dude, fun fact. I actually I was dating a stripper and we kind of like, I got pissed off. And that's when that's when I started dating my girl that I'm still with now. I literally had flaked on her and she flaked on her date. And we were both in Vancouver at the time. But Buddy took us to a bondage party. And then she was really cool. Then I was just like having some Caesars, which is like a Bloody Mary. It's like, let's try this relationship thing. Put it on a 90-day probation. It's been like almost 13 years now.
Oh, I like that.
It was kind of funny. But yeah, she hates it. She's like, I want one of them stories like we were at church and whatever. It's like, no, I like this one better. I didn't like the stripper. You didn't like that dude who's like, do you know who my dad is? You were like, fuck it. Let's just go get naked and hang out with a bunch of transvestites.
Yeah, no, I think love is a little bit like that, like actual love. By the way, I don't know if I believe in love or if I think it's just like a regular orgasm for a woman from one man. So I think that's highly probable. But I think like
it's
love
investment.
You think?
Of course it is. Like when you describe how much you like your man, you always describe the things that you do or the things that you sacrifice for him, right? Like you don't look at other men, you don't find other men attractive, so you're doing that for him. Even though for you, maybe there is a hotter man out there, but you don't even see it.
Oh yeah, we could talk about that too. Yeah. Yeah. And
there's studies about that one too. I think I told you about that one where there was they do those OkCupid ones about do you find this guy hot, and they couldn't figure it out. They're like, it's so subjective. Some girls find guys are 8s and some are 6s, some are 4s, and they never could figure out why, even though guys are consistent. Even if you're whatever, like 8s are 8s. All guys think 8s are 8s. Turns out for girls, it's when you're in love or you have your hypergamous best option, if you want to get clinical about it, is that your biology has this ego to it where you physically see other men as less attractive. And that's why when a lot of guys are like, oh, she's going to cheat on me and whatever, it's like, dude, by the time that decision is made, you've already, all the mistakes that could be made to have her fall out of love with you have happened. And at this point, you're just going through the motions.
Yeah, I actually read in The Anatomy of Love, Dr. Helen Fisher. So she's beholden to Match.com, but other studies that she's done, like women actually will cheat out of spite. Like I think you can piss off a woman enough that like she will definitely do that as revenge. So that's something that I read. Yeah, but like I think it's hard to push a woman to that point. I think because you talk about crawling through glass for alphas, and I think that is a very true thing. I think women will do it. Yeah. So yeah, but because I kept getting comments. People are like, Allie has high standards for men. Look at how she's just punching above her weight, and I'm like.
Well, did you meet your standards?
No, I didn't. It can't be real. I didn't have any.
Oh.
I didn't have any. Fell in love with my husband.
That's all I need.
Well, okay, I talk about this, right? Because one of my things about the red pill, I don't know what was wrong with me or what, but I thought all men were the same. Just like legit, from the McDonald's worker to the CEO of a company, whatever. I was like, you just pick one, you marry one, who cares? Why does it matter? They're all the same. So when I found the red pill, well, I discovered many things. I was like, there's hot boys and there's dusty, broke bums. I'm like, oh my gosh, like there's men with 6-packs that make money. It's like, I didn't even know they existed before.
Dude, in comparison, that's the best part. Those guys that everybody likes the idea, like, well, I'm not jacked like that. What's that guy, Justin Waller? But I'm smart and I make good money. And it turns out like the attractive guys have the charisma and confidence to make more money. So it turns out you really do either have everything or nothing.
Yeah, no, for real. Oh my goodness. And that was weird to me because I was like, because now I noticed all these handsome men. I was like, I didn't even see these guys before. I've only met like 2 strikingly beautiful men where I literally like stopped my tracks, like walking to a wall kind of situation. But
sorry about that, by the way.
Oh, so shut up. So these guys in the chat, because I get asked, like, what do you want in a man? everything I list is just my husband. It's not a high standard. It's just true. I
Well,
like 5'8" lumberjacks with cash that are older white men. It's probably because of J-Lo movies, you know.
it's post hoc justification. That's what people drives me nuts when people talk about their fucking 427 bullet point lists. Like you found the man, you got an emotional attachment to him, you start to invest in him, hypergamous best option, all the stuff. You're in love. So now when people ask you, what do you look for in a man? You're going to describe everything about him because you don't know what is you're attracted to. You just know that you're attracted to him. And so everything he has must be good. That's why you get girls that say, I like nerds. But in reality, they like hot nerds. Hot
yes. Yeah. I've said this. Because like, what's a nerd that does nothing about it? Because I found that out. Because I've noticed something in my dating journey. It was pretty short lived, I guess. Because I've been with two guys.
That's by the best euphemism for the hoe phase I've ever heard. By the way, I'm impressed.
No, okay, actual,
not hoe, but just the phase.
No, it's fine. No, actual phase. I think that was something from like 15 to 19, and I learned real quick. I was like, this sounds really self-destructive. Well, I'm out of here. But it's like, no disrespect, but if that's all you see the older women around you doing, like, what do y'all think I'm gonna do? I'm gonna have like this God sent epiphany, like, I'm not gonna be like them. No, you're gonna like copy them, and then you're gonna realize, well, this really sucks, and these women are idiots. So I've been with two guys in the past 9 years, and what I've noticed about the men that I've, I guess, been in relationships with the past 9 years, and also men that I genuinely get along with more, they're nerdy white men. And I noticed, but then I'll complain about the social aspect. I'm like, man, these men seem a little bit socially off. I gotta explain all of my feelings to them and why I feel the way I feel. This is annoying. But Pearl put me on this. She's like, that's what happens when you end up with those kind of guys. Like, you want a hot nerd, you're gonna have to have some autistic experiences.
Well, I just think nerd is like tangential to it. You just like hot guys, and it just so happens the ones that are attracted to you happen to be nerdy. Although I will say that's more of a guy problem. Guys, this is why there was this place called Red Pilled Women, which was supposed to be kind of what you're doing, but on Reddit. And there was they had to put a big hammer on it. It's like, guys need to stop giving advice, because it turns out guys don't get what we like. We learn to like what we get. So like as a teenager, if the only girls that showed interest in you with goth girls, you find goth girls hot. If it's only Catholic girls, then you find Catholic girls hot, or Muslim girls, Muslim. And guys are very good about that. And it's actually worse now because of something called the MP3 effect. Because, most women are fat now. Yeah, that shit. And we're starting to like the things we can get, and the things we can get are generally degrading. But they're more available. So that's why guys all of a sudden, that was like fat fetishes. Fat fetish used to be a survival instinct. The only guys I ever saw who liked fat girls were like 130-pound skinny guys, because they're like, at least I know where to eat. But now it's like full-grown jacked men with like Pierce Brosnan. Remember that? His wife's like 300 pounds, and he found out like he loves it.
You're lying. I'm Googling right now. It's funny.
See.
Worked at a couple store, code for working at a sex shop. It was a good commission. I was just curious. I was like, well, what's all this about? There is some big lady videos. We sold DVDs. DVDs are still a thing. Truckers apparently don't have Wi-Fi. I don't know why, because we're along interstates nationwide, right? This particular chain. Not a whole lot of people. This is so funny. Not a whole lot of people will buy the big woman DVDs, right? They do get stolen though. So they don't want to buy it. But
funny, people will buy crack, but they steal BBW DVDs.
Oh man. I didn't realize Pierce Brosnan was with a big. Yeah, you know what? I think that's why I got flamed by Tradcast Twitter too. And keep in mind, none of these women that commented even stayed big. They all lost weight for their husbands. Yeah. But I think these women really don't want men to know that they don't have to put up with big chicks. They don't want insecurity. Yeah.
They need to know. It's like a safety thing. Like, if I gain weight, I'm still secure. Girls have this constant fight between anxiety and comfort. And it sucks because desire comes at the tail end of anxiety. So if you get rid of all the anxiety, then you lose all the desire. But if you only have anxiety, then you're never going to have any comfort, and the girl's going to leave. That's why, the dating the bad boys. And like, I don't know if you've ever seen this, but a lot of guys have that experience of when they're dating girls and they're like, dude, I've been dating so many bad boys. It's not good for me. And I just want to settle down with a nice guy. And then they get treated like shit by the girl. It's just because they've had too much anxiety and they want some comfort. But then when they have it, they feel the tinge for anxiety the same way that like a heroin addict wants more heroin.
Yeah, so it's called trauma bonding, like toxic relationships. So in psychology. I realize this sounds like very feministy, very new age. No, but it's true. People get addicted to the highs and lows in toxic relationships. Like you can just tell that they can't function in peace. They can only function in chaos. And I think that's something that, is actually true and happens for some women. But that's why you don't save women. That's why you just
I mean, and it happens to everybody to some extent. Because I like when how they always do all the psychological stuff, it's on a bell curve.
Right.
And then I always say that borderline personality is like the female personality and narcissistic personality is the male one. And they kind of balance each other out. The guy has his fantasies. The girl wants to be the actress in the thing. But when you're like one standard deviation, you have like a 6 out of 10 fight and then a 4 out of 10 making up, as opposed to the crazy bitch that's like 8 out of 10, I love you. And then 2 out of 10, I'm going to fuck your dad.
Yeah, it's so funny. A lot of the war stories I hear about from men from the streets, like there's my thing about modern dating. I think if you that's about the guys stealing the DVDs. That was good.
Yeah. Oh, Chesty's awesome. He's, by the way, he's another Midwest guy. He knows the Catholic side so well. So when you're having the fight with them, he's looking at that like when you finally got your Cath wings or whatever. He's like, oh, she finally growed up and met the Catholic chicks.
Well, Ryan, I didn't know these women existed. Like I had suspected, but like I said, if I had a group of tall Asian Jewish men that just showed up out of nowhere in all of the replies, I would be like, that's really weird. Like, what is that? Yep. So there's a bunch of skinny white Catholic trad women. I was like, what's going on here?
Do you know the worst part though?
What
is they don't love their husbands. They love
I know.
They love the rules.
Oh,
that's the one thing about religious women that guys are kind of finding out when they want to return to trad things. They're like, a godly woman will respect me as the patriarch. It's like, no, she respects the church as the patriarch. And part of her role in the church is to love and respect her husband. That's why it's nothing but like signals about how great she is as a wife. But then behind closed doors, she treats her man like shit and henpecks him. And he puts up with it because he thinks, the church keeps telling me to, respect my wife and, blah, blah, blah. And divorce is wrong. So I need to make her happy, and happy wife, happy life. And to be fair, that's the most red-pilled group of people I think you've met your entire time online. Because the goofy incels talking about 304s, that ain't it.
Well, I mean, those guys, they overthink it. Because my husband, he doesn't, like, I went on a trip to see Pearl. This man was like not at all concerned about me hooking up with other dudes. But it's like,
well, I mean, to be fair, you were in Britain, so it's like, oh no, you're gonna get a guy with that teeth?
Well,
those teeth? No.
The SMV difference between British men and British women was fascinating. I was like, these men are so hot and these women are so ugly. It was like, what is that? But yeah, the Spurgs, right? You could be going to brunch with your girlfriends and they're like, she's just going out for male attention. And I'm sitting there like, the omelets are good, the mimosas are great, and I like this French toast. Like, what are you talking about? But I mean, I understand it, when it comes to women going out to bars. But yeah, the trad cath women are interesting, and that makes a lot of sense. That this is the thing too, because I've been shamed for. I would love to do this, Brian, if you want to. Fun. This will be cute. Call it pink.
Back and forth on other channels. I was gonna call this episode the Red Pill Rom-Com, but it seemed weird because you were already preggers.
Oh no, it's cute, it's kitschy, and my husband thinks you're cool. So
I like him too already. He has good taste in women.
Thank you. Oh, no, I'm gonna cry. Yeah. So what was I thinking about these religious women? Right. Okay. So I got flamed a little bit, sometimes, occasionally, still do, by Christian women because I married a man who wasn't Christian. I had tried to date Christian men. A lot of them straight up don't lift, right? And I had one, and I did it a couple of times. I dated one Baptist. I think I might have been too crazy for him, but he ended up marrying this hot white chick, and then they got divorced, and now he's fat. So I won. At the end of the day, I won. And then dated this other guy, wrote me a poem in basic training, said I was a beautiful butterfly and burnt the edges. And I was like, I have given this a shot, y'all. I tried to date Christian men. I don't think I had the leverage, though, for the hot boy Christian men.
Butterfly?
Yeah, I was a beautiful
butterfly?
Dude, yeah.
As a private? Dude, you're not even human until you finish your JL4 trades qualifications.
Okay, well, we call it AIT on my side, but they don't lift. They're socially uncouth, and so I found a Chad, right, who just isn't Christian. And so my question is, like, do these women really think And I'm not sure. Maybe Chest, hook me up. Let me know what you think about this.
Red Hawk, by the way, is another guy who's good. Like he's fighting the fight like you, and he
Oh,
gets the same hate. So yeah,
oh, good. Thank
blood
you.
brother.
Thank you. I just want to know what the church's stance is on this. So, am I supposed to marry a weak Christian man and have him be the leader of my household? Or am I supposed to marry a masculine man and then I just end up supplicating the marriage and raising my children with Christianity myself?
Mhm.
Like, what's the better two? Does anybody have a scripture for that one? Because everybody's just like, well, you married outside and you weren't supposed to do that. I'm like, I've repented for it. Like, that's fine. But
You have to
I'm just
repent
not.
for marrying a good man.
Oh, well, you have to repent for marrying a non-believer. That's because it's it's not in the book. So, my question is just like I'm just not convinced that God wanted me to marry a femboy that happens to subscribe.
Like I already know what answer Chesty's going to give, so I'll give my version of what I think he's going to get and see how close I
Okay,
get.
let's do
But
it.
the church is going to tell you to do whatever it is that gets you in church and tithing more. They don't really care if you're happy at all.
Interesting.
They want you to date Catholic men that are at the church or Christian men at the church because they need a reason for guys to go to church because guys just aren't. They aren't going to church because they're tired of hearing, you got to marry up these single moms and shit like that, right? Like it is actually kind of a thing. And so they need you there, and they need you to attract the women in the pews because they're there for forgiveness.
Yeah, I'm the
Like
only
you
tan
go to
chick with
church, how many
tattoos.
girls do you do the thing where you like dress in your Sunday best to show off who's dressed nicer at church? Like are you that kind of Christian or no? My
No,
grandma was.
I'll put on a dress just because I feel like bad if I look like a bum for Jesus. I'm like, I need to get it together for this 1 hour once a week. I need to put something on. But no, my family was like that growing up though. Like you look like crap the rest of the week, but like let's put on a dress and makeup for Jesus. And I'm like, what? I don't know. I think I understand what you're saying that women are competitive in that way. I've been to a couple of churches. The church is a place Jesus would hate the church. Agree. I've been to a couple of churches, and the more new age it is, the more I think men are kind of like, admonished, whatever. Like I had a pastor who wouldn't celebrate Roe v. Wade being overturned, and he said, like, I hope you guys are not looking to me for guidance on these hot topic times. And I was like, sir, you're supposed to be the shepherd. Like, what you talking about? But he didn't want to anger the female congregation is what I was thinking. But I go to what I think is more of an Orthodox church right now. Some people, probably never going to figure out the whole mating thing, but there are a lot of babies there. There are more thin women there, and the husbands are the leaders. I will say though, my husband is the most ripped dude in the church, and he's agnostic. So
Jesus doesn't have iron.
Well, yeah.
That's the part that gets me is that most of the time when you meet guys, like Red Hawk will say the same thing here. They go to the church because they want a shepherd. They want somebody to tell them what to do because it's too scary to make your own decisions and suffer your own consequences. And the church is like the classic place for that. But then that's the problem. Like you said, the pastor, the guy who's supposed to be in charge and the patriarch, is basically beholden to the chicks in the pews.
Yeah.
And he won't make decisions. So like who's running things really? It's the single mom type looking for forgiveness running things, or is it the guy who's headed the church? They're literally topping from the bottom. And then how can you expect an institution to look out for men when they're busy basically trying to appease those chicks that are shitting on you on Twitter? Like it can't be done. And every guy's kind of slowly learning that.
Yeah. I'm saying like I would have done
like
it.
This sentiment is the red-pilled sentiment.
If the church failed you, why care what it thinks? Well, I like mine. And, I will say something weird happened with this current church that I'm in with the pastor. He gave orders. And I was like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen a man do that in a very, I was uncomfortable. I didn't think he did the wrong thing, but I was like, is that a man acting like a man? So I feel good being there. I'll say that.
And that's it. That's all you can do is just that's frame. That's like your worldview. That's the narratives you use in your head to anchor your decisions to. And then anything outside your frame is either amusing, intriguing, or funny. He's going to bark those orders, as you said. And people in the church are either going to be happy about it or they're not going to be happy about it. And they're right to react however they want to. And he's right to not care about it because he's done enough work that he's not worried about losing whatever it is, right? And here's Hawk with his $10 super chat. Never acknowledge that the church has changed many times throughout history, but suggesting they change now is evil or something.
Facts, right? I like this one made me laugh so hard. Racist chicken tender said Jesus was jacked. The way, the truth, and the light. That one got me. Oh, this chat is funny.
Yeah, well, That's the other reason this chat's small. All of these guys, fuck. All of them.
Ah, I see.
And the ones that don't learned how, because like we don't put up with autism in the chat or like abstract shit. I hate it. That's why a lot of the topics I only talk about when I'm on like your channel or Rolo's channel. Because over here I try to keep it actionable as possible, which sucks because most people don't want that. They want Ric Flair versus Hulk Hogan versus Ultimate Warrior on the 304 hoes belong in the streets thing, right?
Who is Ric Flair? Like, I'm trying to.
You don't know who Ric Flair is?
He's the
Get off my
woo
goddamn
guy, right?
Take the White Claw and get the fuck off my pocket.
Shut up. He's the woo guy, right?
He's okay. Wrestling has
Yeah.
like the Mount Rushmore, and that's Andre the Giant, Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, and we could argue about who. We'll say The Rock, whatever. So Ric Flair was the ultimate heel, like the bad guy. He was blonde, glasses, the 1970s playboy. And his
Right.
big catchphrase was "Woo!"
Okay, so I was
Styling and profiling. The nature boy, Ric Flair, exactly. He was the bad guy.
Okay.
And everybody loved to hate him. And that was like, so whenever I talk about heels and heroes or kayfabe, like when I talk about a Ric Flair, like the Tradcats, you're Ric Flair right now.
Oh, that's hilarious. Well, that's
Red
I mean
Pill,
that's
I'm
fine.
Ric Flair. Yeah,
Well,
there's nothing wrong with it.
Hey, at least I want to have sex with my husband even when I'm not trying to get pregnant. So you've taught me a lot about these women. But here's the thing too. I don't like to make things about race unless I actually notice something that I think could be about race. So you guys, we talked about this tweet earlier. I said I don't understand women who get absurdly fat in pregnancy because I have noticed from my lower socioeconomic brown status that women will get obese off one pregnancy. They will do it. And then I started doing some research about pregnancy and weight gain and things like that. And I was like, wait a minute. I was like, no other time in human history we got women gaining 80 pounds in pregnancy. Like, I think there might be some cap going on. So I ended up making that post, and all these skinny women ended up like commenting. And so I had this theory, right? So for those of you that don't
just
know,
told them wrestling isn't real. That's why.
Oh well, I don't, Ryan. I'm not for that joke. I don't. What do you mean?
Oh, well, the Ric Flair, the whole thing about wrestling is that it's pre-scripted. It's like reality TV. They know what things are going to happen. The fights aren't real.
Oh, yeah.
But you're supposed to pretend it is. So when you tell them wrestling isn't real, yeah, you're removing the fantasy.
Okay. I get it. Right. Okay. So like my culture has a problem overeating. Their culture has a problem under eating. But I had this, like, this is my theory, right? And you can see this in statistics when it comes to like anorexia, nervosa, bulimia, nervosa, and things like that. So I think these women are yelling at me when they got mommy issues because mommy's usually the one that gives you a bad relationship with food. She's usually the one saying it because what is dad really going to say? I mean, he might tell you like, look, you're getting kind of big. I don't think you want to do that. He might say that. But I think it's like moms that are more of the perfectionists trying to control their daughter's image so that they can feel at peace.
Is there a girl that exists that doesn't have like a frenemy relationship with her mom?
No. No,
Thank you guys. We're here all week. Tip your waitress. Catch you later.
Well, I think all moms are just a little bit nuts. Like even the women I know that have good moms, they're like, I can't stand my mom. I'm like, well, I understand it. So how can I not be an annoying mom that my kids avoid?
I honestly don't know. I think the self-awareness is the big thing. I really do. Like the fact that you were actually able to reflect and look at like where your problems were and any of the failures you had. I don't, men or women, I don't think anybody does that. I really don't. I think they look for somebody else to blame so they can move on with their life and go back to the exact same problems they had before and then wondering why. I don't get it. The last 5 times it sucked. Why does this one suck? Really do think it takes some soul searching and accepting that, you ain't shit.
Yeah, you know what? So people say I have internalized misogyny. We know that's cap.
What the fuck does that even mean?
It means I learned to hate myself. But nobody ever asked, like, are these women insufferable? Nobody ever asked that. Like, I'm like, I think that they are. And so, like, so one of these red pill things, right? They talk about men and women and they can't be friends. And I think for the most part that is true. But if you're a woman like me, there ain't no way you ever gonna have a girlfriend. So like, what am I supposed to do? Not befriend the male robotics team in high school? Because that's my only option. Like these are what my suits are.
I get it now. You're a tomboy.
Yeah, but I wore dresses.
Oh, yeah. Well, tomboys can wear dresses, dude. My family. I got 3 horse girls in my family. Like I get it. They all wear dresses sometimes.
This makes a lot of sense now. Yeah, and so it's like, what? I'm not getting along with these chicks. I gotta have some type of friends, and so let
Mhm.
me hang out with the nerdy beta males. Like, I'm sorry, what else can I do? Now, granted, I know that they lose in that interaction because at the end of the day, they're hoping to get some. But
Yeah.
I don't think I can necessarily be faulted for getting along with men more than women. And I get the subtext of it, right? But socializing with women, it's always been really hard for me because even when I was a kid, I would ask questions, right? So it's like, if you don't like him, well, why are you going on a date with him? And they're like, shut up, you 8-year-old. What are you saying? And so, like with women, I always have to wonder and guess what they're actually saying, what they're actually meaning, and how they're
Yeah.
going to take something. With men, it's always been very straightforward. I have had women like flip on a dime on me and
Yeah.
didn't see it coming. And so it's like, I understand men and women can't be friends, but I'm gonna continue to socialize with the people that have more predictable behavior. I'm so sorry.
Dude, there's a whole like red pilled like rabbit hole on this stuff. They called it the female and the male social matrix. I know I've referenced it a bunch. I
Okay.
don't know if you've read it, but it's really neat. Like guys, we self-organize like an initial fitness testing and then wholehearted acceptance. And
Mhm.
there's a whole bunch of evil psych things, doesn't really matter.
Okay.
Women, on the other hand, it's always about a big tent. So everybody is always inclusive. And if you recognize the language, you'll see I don't think it's politics. I think it's just like 6-year-olds playing boys versus girls dodgeball, but everything's inclusive. Everybody's welcome. You're all friends. But then once you're inside that big tent, it's cutthroat status, jockeying for position, and crabs in a bucket.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's just
Definitely
how
agree.
men and women interact differently. And then as a girl, a lot of girls like that idea that, okay, like in the military, right? You
Mhm.
pass your basic training, you pass your trades qual, you're in wholeheartedly. Even if you fuck up, you're not out of the group. They may have
Mhm.
some like, you'll up on the status or lower on the status, depending how good of a soldier you are. But generally things stay the same.
Mhm.
Girls like that. But then the problem is for a lot of guys, and I think this is why you like the nerdy type guys,
Mhm.
because a lot of the guys who are guys, they're competing with other guys in that matrix, but they're not competing with the girls. So you never notice where you're like never quite
Mhm.
one of the boys.
Yeah. I mean, but yeah, I get it.
Yeah, a
Oh
lot
my
of girls hate
gosh.
that though. Like they hate it and they want to be one of the boys so bad, and it's just like I don't think you do.
Well, I wanted it a little bit when I was active duty in a cav unit, but mostly
Mhm.
just because, like I said, y'all talking about internalized misogyny. You ever had to live with 60 women? You ever had to live with 12? 12? These women are crazy.
Oh, I
What? Oh
know.
my gosh. Okay, one of these heifers stole a TV. So we're in a trailer, right?
Yeah.
With plywood dividers that don't reach the ceiling. And this is our chew, which is actually, it was a very
What does
cush
Q stand
chew.
for? I don't know, Army.
What is chew for? I don't know these arguments.
Well, what is it?
Chew
Like, what is this purpose of the space?
containerized housing unit. So
Oh, okay.
sometimes there are connexes with rooms in them, and
So like a
sometimes it's
temporary barracks, sort of.
yeah. And so we're in this, and this is in Jordan, and one of the women ends up transferring or going back home, but she says, "Hey, I'm going to give you guys my TV." One of these smoking hot E5 evil heifers stole the TV, right? And so we had to get like Sergeant Major involved because this bitch stole TV that was supposed to be for us. So that's like one aspect, right? This other thing that happened too, they got into a fight about slamming doors. So
Yeah.
what do these bitches do? You would think they'd stop slamming the doors at
No, they
midnight.
slamming harder.
No. Yeah, and I just couldn't believe it. So I was like, don't tell me I have internalized misogyny. These women are crazy. They are crazy.
There was 3 girls that worked in my department, and there was every time I came on to watch, it was stories like this. The plumbing, some girl accidentally had a period and jammed up the plumbing, like shoving underwear and socks into the things. And we always had to hire like hull techs were our like plumbers and like general tradesmen, right? And there was always one female hull tech because
Mhm.
anytime some girl gummed up the plumbing, none of the guys would go in there. It was like Bedouin camps, like, oh no, the evil spirits are in the toilet. You got to fix it.
Okay.
I
I'll
remember
tell,
that chick too because her nickname was the Sea Hag, which
oh,
was
great.
it was almost like an endearing term though. But yeah, they
Yeah.
fought constantly over the dumbest shit. And the
Yeah.
one girl used to get up half an hour early to do up her makeup, and she was a fucking bosun, like military, like infantry for the Navy. She ended up marrying her chief, by the way, so she's kind of like the you.
Yeah, well, I mean, why go? My thing about dating is go where the leverage is. So, like, look, I
Oh,
will.
don't get me wrong. She gained a
Yeah.
lot less weight than the girls who were still in the military. So, I mean, can't
Yeah.
fault her for being happy.
Oh yeah, I peaked after high school. Very proud of this. Also, women don't clean up their messes. This is a gross story. I went to some kind of training to become an NCO. Obviously, co-ed again, but co-ed with active duty and National Guard and reservists. And so it's like these women are equal, like more irritating than usual. One of these chicks ends up donating blood, ends up like crapping in the bathroom and passing out, right? And obviously, no self-respecting human being would actually pick up their dung, right? It just couldn't be done. So,
We're swapping stories today. Finish your story. Finish
all
it.
right. So I end up like talking about it. I'm like, this thing happened where we're at. I'm not really sure how to handle this because I was put in charge, and the men literally came out and they cleaned this bathroom and they picked up her crap, and I was like, modern women. I can't imagine. I would have gone back. I would have done it. I would have totally done it because we knew who it was.
Yeah.
She's the only person it's different if people don't know who you are. Although I'll still do it just because I know God is watching. But you're the only chick that passed out from donating blood. You didn't think you should pick up your turd? I can't believe these women. But the men were worse was like they started like they had brooms and they were trying to like slight it to each other as a joke. And I was like, y'all are disgusting. It was horrible. So there you go.
Humor. Okay. A sub-lieutenant, which is like 1.5 bars officer on our ship. There's one female head. And usually when there's like a function on board where people get drunk, there's always one person who does stupid stuff. There was 2 chicks.
Okay.
The one was a native chick, and she used to drink red wine with Coke because she liked getting drunk, but she hated the taste of alcohol. And it sucked because there was like 2 or 3 other native members on board, and they hated her because it's like, I don't know if you guys know this, but here in Canada, we have like a natives getting drunk kind of like ethnic stereotype thing. Not very positive. And every time she would get drunk, they got so pissed. You're like, you're embarrassing all of us. Anyway, she fell down some stairs, passed out buck naked. And on this same night, there was this officer who accidental period and was taking a dump in the heads. There was the one female head, and there was only 2 girls, and the one was passed out, so they knew it was her. And she ended up plugging the toilet, and then she took a dump in her underwear, and she was trying to fish it out and throw it in the toilet. And I remember the duty watchkeeper walked by and caught this, and it was like, I don't even know the details. People kind of like, when like some trauma happens and you just don't talk about it, like when you ask a guy about his Vietnam stories. This was the Vietnam for our ship. And this chick, I feel so bad because for the longest time, her nickname, she had to serve another 2 years. Her nickname was Princess Poopy Pants. Because not only was she known as the girl throwing shit at the toilet from her underwear, also jamming up the toilet by trying to flush the underwear down the toilet, she was also praised as like the new women in the military. She was raised to the top and everybody loved her. And she was such a bitch. Like, that where she gets that little bit of authority and she's like, get out of here, plebs.
Yeah.
And so it was always funny that she's sitting there being a huge bitch to the NCMs and the NCOs. And then everybody would just look over it. And then every now and then you hear somebody on like the bridge wings, like, is that Princess Poopy Pants?
How are you able to live? Oh,
yeah. Oh, and girls are filthy as fuck.
Well, that's the next thing I was going to say, because like men think we're, well, I mean, not after they find your channel. Well, they think we're like these mystical, ethereal creatures and we're just perfect and we can't do anything wrong. And I just found out how much cap that was like day 1 in basic training. These women are nasty. They're bleeding everywhere. They can't clean nothing. They smell bad.
How do you accidentally have a period? Like, don't you guys have some kind of like, oh, wait, it's like, how does it surprise you?
Right. It's just
like, does it? Like, it can't, right?
No. It's just not being prepared, right? Because if a man was a woman, if I had a man brain and I knew that randomly I could bleed, but you get a heads up, right? You kind of like get 24 hours where you're like, this thing coming.
Yeah, before you throw up, you feel sick. You know it's coming.
Right. But a self-aware person, if it would just put some tampons in their pocket, right? You just have it on their person at all times, no matter what. Women don't do that though. They're like, oh no, how could this have occurred? And look, I was guilty of it too myself. I was guilty.
Probably at like 13.
No, I don't think it goes away, man. I don't think it's basic training. We were all like 18 to 35, but mostly I think 18 to 24. So, I realize women want to act like we're not adult children, but I have lived with 60 women and I think we might be. I absolutely think that we might be.
Okay,
right?
you may not know about this. I'm going to show something now that's perfect. This is why I have this here. Watch this.
I love the way girls smell. I love how they always make sure, by and large, they shower, and they just have an amazing smell to them in general.
Do you know the story of Patrick Stedman?
Well, the gentleman that died from cancer, am I correct?
No, that guy there, he didn't die from anything.
Wait, that's Pat Stedman?
Yeah, that's Pat Stedman.
Oh, who's the guy from Oklahoma?
Oh, I don't even know. I have a hard time keeping track. I got my old video reference. So his thing was he was like the trad con and like the pickup artist ruining our women. And his he had this great video of why I love women. And those were his reasons. They shower every day. They're nice. They're kind. They smell nice and they support you. And I just find it to be absolutely hilarious. And so I've made it an advertisement for this channel. He hates me. And then he started talking about lizard people, and he stormed the Capitol on January 6th and live streamed it. And one of his old high school buddies recognized him, turned him into the feds.
Oh.
Now, he had his Polish wife, they just had a baby 6 weeks before this.
Right.
And he was like, we're moving to Poland. We're going to start our new life. Goes to the Capitol. The judge confiscates his passport. So he literally, for clout, ruined his family plans because Trump was that goddamn good. And his takes on women were such dog shit. It was actively hurting guys. And so now when you're talking about like how women are kind of nasty, I was just like, how women shower. And I just bring this up every chance I get. It's like, these are your thought leaders, fellas.
No, I wanted them to shower. And that's the thing that I wanted them to shower.
Nice.
Well, that's what I can't stand about some of these moms. Look, I'm sorry. Like I get it. I haven't had a baby yet. I'm actively working on it, but I got some damn common sense. How are you going to talk about, well, I'm a mom. I haven't showered in 2 weeks. What the hell, ma'am? Are you serious?
Wait, who's that? Who's bragging about being nasty?
Well, they're usually large and in charge. But no, I've had women, I'm so like burnt out from my kids. I haven't even showered. I'm like, what's wrong with you? What? You need to talk to a professional. I cannot. And I get, if you have a newborn, I'm gonna be honest, a lot of women say that they like the mini shower situation, the bird bath, you get like washcloth, you do what's important. I've heard that in the newborn situation. But other than that, I'm like, you guys really don't make sense because military shower. I don't know if you got down to like cluster
showers, bird baths. Yeah.
I don't know if you ever got it down 5 to 10 minutes, right?
30 seconds.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe there's a difference of sexes there. We got a lot of hair to wash. I don't know. But on our heads, okay. But
here the pusser shower, because you want to save water on board, is you turn the water on, get your body wet, turn the water off, wash your body. All you got to do, turn it back on, rinse yourself off, turn it off. You're out there in like 30 seconds to a minute. That's what you have to do when you're on water restrictions.
Okay, well, that's on a ship. So for us, it's just like in basic training, you just get a shower fast. 5 to 10 minutes is all you get. And I don't care what type of mom you are. I don't care how many babies you have. I assure you got 5 minutes to get under that water and to use that soap. Now, the worst thing, what I didn't like is when there wasn't any heat and you had to shower anyway, because you're like, I just have to be a decent human being. I don't want to smell. Let me get in this. And that killed me. That did.
Dude, Algonquin, our destroyer, was like that. It never had enough hot water ever. It just didn't have boilers that worked. Thank you, PI Double and Sean Bipley. How did I end up on Clary's channel? You're killing me.
Does he do story time?
What's that? He does, but it's not nearly as cool as this shit. Not gonna lie. We've looked into the abyss and we're giving these guys hilarious anecdotes from it.
Look, it's not internalized misogyny. These women are just a pain in the rear. Okay.
That's such a bullshit made up. That's like women only love assholes. It's like assholes is a container word. You just fill it up with whatever negative feelings you have and you throw it at their feet and expect them to get it. Can't shower for they have to ask the roach permission to enter the bath. The roach.
I think he's talking about because the bathroom's dirty.
Oh, fuck, whatever.
Dude, there's a roach guarding it. Oh, man.
But no, you want to really piss here. If you want to have another fight with your little Catholic chicks.
No, I'm done with these insufferable women. Okay, go ahead.
Put this in if you want it, you can use it.
Okay.
I remember I actually got a lot of people so mad that they stalked me for a year trying to get me banned anywhere they could for suggesting that babies who are colic are because of moms who have horrible planning. They fucking hated that. And it's absolutely true.
They would nuke me. They would
My
nuke me.
brother's kids, my best friend's kids, my girl's friends' kids, all of them. The ones who had like guys who were really well organized, kids were smooth, never cried, nothing.
Mhm.
The girls that are kind of like, oh, I can't handle this. They're very disorganized. The kids were colic. They're always crying all the time. And I'm just saying. Oh, thank you, Diego. Look at that. He loves you guys too.
Yeah.
Book
Thank
files out on all
you.
digital platforms. That's right.
We might do this regularly. I'll ask Ryan. He seems
I
to
think
put
it's
up with me.
I honestly I like it. It's fun and
Mhm.
it's important because this is
Mhm.
all Red Pill was supposed to be. People swapping notes about shit that really happened, not
Oh,
arguing
yeah.
about fruit flies and studies. It's supposed to
Mhm.
be like, what happened in your marriage that worked out well? What happened that wasn't so well? What mistakes did you make? How did you fix it? And I
Mhm.
guarantee you, any married guy watching this podcast probably learned more from this on how to fuck his wife properly and keep her from being a cunt than 800 4-hour live streams about hypergamy. No offense to Rolo. I love you, buddy.
That's
But
fine.
yeah.
No, I mean, I think it's just simple. You know what I mean? I mean, we do want a man that just knows. Like, Rilla
Yeah.
wrote about that in the player's handbook. That's true. Like, my husband, at first, it was an adjustment period because he's a longtime bachelor.
Mhm.
So, Chess says, will Allie bring her child into bed? So I don't know. Like, if my husband told me not to or something, I would listen to him. But my plan is, they have these half cut bassinets that you put next to the bed, right? So it's
Mm.
like, in my mind, this is my future that I'm envisioning that hasn't happened yet. So me and him are in bed, and then this co-sleeping half bassinet that's chopped in half, that'll be on my side. Because I'm pretty sure mans would just like roll over and end the
Do you
baby.
know the nickname a lot of guys have for their kids?
No.
Cock blockers.
Oh yeah, well I would think that that's not happening to me. I don't know. I don't know about
That's what he's getting at here.
Yeah. Well, if my husband came to me, he said, "Hey, this is no fly zone. This is messing up the intimacy." I'd be like, "Okay, I don't know how I would figure it out, but I'd figure something out because I like having sex
Well, I
with
think
my
the
husband."
bassinet is the one. It's because there's a lot of parents who moms never really loved their husbands. They just like the idea of being a wife and a mother. And they
Yeah.
only like have sex with their husbands when they want to get laid. A lot of these Trath Cat ones are like that. And so
Mhm.
what they do is because they feel bad because they're not doing their wifely duties, but at the same time, they don't feel attraction for their husband. And so they come up with these buffers. Like
Mhm.
one guy actually put his wife bought like 20 pillows and made a literal pillow fort to keep them separate in bed. Or like they'll bring the kids and, oh no, 5-year-olds always sleep in bed with the parents and shit like that.
I'm sorry. I cannot see my husband standing for that. I
No.
think he'd yeet the baby out of the
But honestly, here, Allie, I asked
Mhm.
this of every girl who's got a happy, functional marriage. Do you think you're at all the average? Like, do you think you're the boilerplate, the standard, that most women are just like you? Do you really think that?
No, he tells me all the time.
Well, of course he would.
Well, no, because I am still struggling between are people good, are people bad? Do women care, do women not care? So no, I actually legitimately care about men's issues. I realize like some people are like, oh, you love the red pill. I'm like, look, y'all are annoying. Number one. Number two, I just think that the best thing I can do for men, what I can do is raise a son who doesn't supplicate women, right? Who doesn't pedestalize women. And I think the best thing I can do is raise a daughter who doesn't take things from men that she hasn't earned. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And so I think that is just like my best avenue and effort in addressing that. But no, I don't think I'm the average. So I know weight wise, I'm not obese. I know I've served in the military. I know I did undergrad. What else? I have a YouTube channel, and so the
But you see
statistics.
what I mean? You add these all together, and you realize you're like, what, the 1% of people have your thing. So I think it's a problem a lot of people have is that because I know other YouTubers, other YouTubers, and we think that we're the norm, but we're not. I'm not saying we're special either. That's the part that makes me cynical and
I
jaded.
know.
It's
I
like,
know.
how are you not at least this functional?
Yeah. So no, I can see other women are just not in that way. But I think that's just a sad. Here's the thing: what women don't have in their head or in their minds, and I don't know if it's narcissism or solipsism, is you should be the kind of wife that you would hope your son marries one day, right? Because kids are always watching. And it's not like this weird Oedipus thing. It's just you should be an example because you're teaching him what he should and should not put up with from a woman in a relationship, right? And I think, but
everybody should.
Yeah, but some
should
women
in
are
one hand,
okay.
shit in the other. See what fills up first, though.
I understand. I see what you're getting at, but some of these women that are really off, they're okay with that. Yeah. He should put up with something like this. I'm like, I can't imagine doing that to my son. I just couldn't. I couldn't dream of it.
Honestly, and I get it from like an evolutionary standpoint. No, honestly, it's like shit
Right.
tests. That's why they call them shit tests. Girls want to emasculate their guys because they want to lose that battle. Like, I guarantee you, I bet you if you look deep enough into your life, you've probably seen times where you've tried to emasculate your guy and he doesn't put up with it. And then when he shuts it down, you probably grow that little bit more attraction for him over the long term. In fact, I bet you anything, you've been sitting there with friends and somebody asks, like, how do you let him get away with that? And you kind of like, he's going to do what he's going to do. Have you ever had to say that? Because every
No.
married girl I know has said that about all of my friends and family at some point. He's going to do what he's going to do.
Yeah, no, that part. No, I can't control him. And I think there's something I think in women, because I don't think I'm the type of woman to actively want to, but it's like it's in us though. Like I see it sometimes.
Well, you want to make sure he's still top. Like, I get it. We're in, we had televisions now, even though that bitch stole it, but we're ultimately just cavemen and cave women with earphones and microphones. So yeah, you want to make sure that your guy can still hunt and he's not going to get eaten by a tiger. And so yeah, you're going to throw these shit tests out as like a constant reassurance. The same way that, I constantly grope my wife and slap her on the ass because I want to make sure that my hand still fits.
Oh, that's cute. It's cute though. But you know what? It's not cute if you're not attracted to the guy.
Case in point.
You just
None of this works unless you're
away.
attracted first. That's why I hate everybody's talking about their shopping lists and their this and that. It's like, look, if he doesn't find you hot and if you don't find him attractive, like none of this works. It's all tangential. If your husband gets fat, yeah, for a while you'd be like, he can still cut it. But there'll be a certain point where you're kind of like, not only is he getting fat, he's starting to be more supplicative. He's putting up with my shit. Why is he putting up with this? I mean, I'm sure your first husband, that was the same way with him. At first, you were probably madly in love with him, but then slowly over time, shit happened that kind of made you lose that or doubt it. Maybe.
No, I don't think so.
Fair enough.
No. I got married as an experiment, right? So we had orders to go to. This is the problem
that's
with the
romantic.
military. Oh, yeah. Well, why do you think it didn't work out? No, I talk about this. People try to flame me for it. I'm like, look, at least you're getting VIP insider information and like whatever.
Oh, I'm not judging. I don't care.
No, I know you don't. You're a normal human being. No, I got married as an experiment. We had different orders to different duty stations. We couldn't live together. Right. And so in order to live together, because I liked him, but I was like, I'm going to get married. If it doesn't work, I'll just get an annulment or something like that. But except it ended up lasting 5 years. Right.
You'd be surprised how many military marriages are like that, by the way, for like the benefits or
to
live together or to get off of barracks.
Yeah, no, I'm actually like, I'm very keenly aware, but I just like to live my life high risk, high reward. So when it came to like,
wow, real badass we got here.
Well, yeah. So that's why it was like, well, I like him.
Don't fuck with this girl.
I like him. We can't live together. I'm like, well, what's the problem in getting married? Can't say I didn't die trying. So I went and I did it, and then but I didn't know anything about compatibility, right? So it obviously didn't work out, but I'm still glad I did it. I still think it was the right decision. It's an L, but I think it was kind of a good L, like the good kind of L. Yeah.
I look at marriage the same way I look at leeching. Like people used to love leeching to heal things and bloodletting and all that stuff. It doesn't work. The way modern marriage is, it's really like they're wearing marriage as a skin suit.
Yeah, I'm just trying to bring back something that I know has historically worked.
Well, you're just trying to be historical, dude. That's like the most red pill thing ever. That's praxeology of the dominant male. Ian Ironwood, he talks about this, where guys, how do you have, like, the whole point of this is maximum happiness for everybody that's in your tribe, for lack of a better word. And then guys, like, what kind of relationship tends to be the best? Monogamous ones, because they're the ones that have worked throughout history. So they're the ones that tend to work the best. So that's when we adopt. And then they realize, well, a lot of girls are earning more money than their husbands now. It's like 40% 10 years ago. Now I think it's something like 60%. And before, when you were working on the farm, the guy was the one who was earning everything. And that's how you had dominance in a relationship. You had a monogamous relationship. So what do you do now that women are the economic engines in relationships? And that's when you realize you kind of just abandon economic input. And then you realize, like you said, well, I'm attracted to my husband, that luxury good. Like you got, how was he? 50, you said? 52? 50
He's
something?
50. Yeah.
50 years old. He's got the body of what, a 23-year-old?
No, well, I don't know. I posted
Well, a
him a couple
23-year-old in
times.
the 80s.
No, nobody thinks he's 50. So this conversation comes up because I'll talk about my age got married sometimes in front of like other people, and they'll kind of look at me, and when they're looking at me, they're like, "Ain't no way you want to sleep with this old man." And then I'm like, "Let me just show you a picture," and I'll show.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, I get it now. I get it now." I'm like, "Well,
But you see it though?
yeah."
Like you're basically husband is essentially a Louis Vuitton purse. I'm sure
Yeah.
there's some guys that earn more money. I'm sure there's some guys that are, you know, better fathers or whatever all that shit is. But one of the things that I guarantee, one of the things you find attractive about him is that you can throw it in the face of all those chicks at brunch. How's your man? Oh, well, he just got a raise at the IT shop, and he's, you know, he bought a new shirt because he doesn't fit his old Kirkland signature shit. You're like, take a look at this one. He's 10 feet tall and made of solid gold with a 6-pack. And I know, like a little part of you is like, yeah, fuck you, bitch.
No, yeah, a little bit. Because I won the hypergamous game, you know. But that's the thing about it is though. This is the sad part. Is I'm willing to accept less, right? In a sense, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain this. Like, so I live in the Midwest. Cost of living is low. A lot of
Right.
women would look at what my husband earns and be like, "Oh, well, that's not." And I'm like, "Well, that's why you're still in the streets. Like that
Yeah,
would be
how much
why.
do you need?
That would be
Right?
yeah, it is very much like how much do you really need? So budgeting is a big thing, and a lot of women could, I think, stay home. They just don't want to. But I've seen some weird financial things in relationships too. Oh, my bad.
Sorry to answer that. I'll deal with the super chat.
you
Subscribe
do
to the newsletter. That's ryanstone.com/newsletter.
Mhm.
And then have Pearly as well. Yeah, Pearly is one of those ones. Ellie talks about her, and I guess we know of each other, and we both like each other's stuff. It's just one of like we'll eventually get a meet. I know she's blowing the fuck up right now, so she's
She
gonna be
likes
busy as
you.
fuck. Oh yeah, I like her stuff too. I like how she's like you, and you guys kind of lean into the hate.
Oh yeah. Well, her and I actually we disagree on a lot. But like so she's very much I think her default thought process at this point in time is just always see the man's point of view first. But I like to use the red pill from a woman's perspective as well because like I gotta look out for myself too. And I think that is something that can happen to some women is just like they don't ever consider well, like what's in it for me, you know, like well what do I get, whereas I'm very much willing to ask that question. The difference I think between me and other women though is I'm willing to do the work for it, right? So if you tell me I got to meet these objectives in order to get what I want, I will meet the objective. I don't care. I don't care what it takes. I'll do it. But yeah, so I think that's the difference between us is that she's probably more of the male perspective than I am.
Well, hopefully she hasn't been burned yet on that one. I think that's the issue. A lot of guys have that like white knight, Captain Save-A-Ho, but then you kind of get burned by chicks, and that's where you get jaded. And I get a lot of girls get that too, because I'm not going to say that guys are great because we're not. Most of us are pieces of shit. And I don't mean this like just to be edgy. I mean like actual pieces of shit.
Mm-hmm. No,
in
yeah,
all the ways that matter. So, I mean, self-interest, why wouldn't you? Look out for your own self-interest. But I think what you're trying to get at here, at least the way I understand it, is you're taking the long approach. You're not looking at short-term games at the expense of long-term happiness.
Yeah, there's something that I just noticed. Now I struggle with impulse control, but I understand like foresight and delayed gratification in some regards. And I think sometimes you can fiddle around with both. But something in me, you know, I've just never really gone the hoe route, I'll say. I've just never really I just knew that it wasn't going to work out well because it's almost like quick money is gone as fast as it comes. And it wasn't until like the red pill I realized, oh, it's because we get old one day. Like that only goes on for so long. I mean, at best, for most of us, it's only going to go on until 35, and that's if you're in tip top shape. And by then, like a lot of your eggs are gone. So I kind of always knew, and it's not been easy because women get FOMO too. Like I look at women that are at raves that are like half naked and beautiful and still have perky boobs and stuff. I'm like, oh man, they're living their best life. But then I like remember the darkness. They're probably very close to ODing and also dehydrated, and they're obviously unmarried, whatever, and stuff like that.
I like how you put ODing and dehydrated on the same level on this one.
Yeah, just
8 glasses of water and lay off the Coke.
Yeah, just leaning into the darkness when I look at that. But I just always knew that there was going to be some kind of benefit at one point or another in valuing being a wife and covering up my body and being selective with men. That was something that I figured out. I think when I was 19, I was like, I'm sure that this is going to be effective. And I was worried about when it came to social media though, because you'll see women post booty pics, they grow overnight. I was like, man, like it's tempting. I just never had it in me. Like I never had it in me to be a stripper either. And so when I got,
Oh,
when
you
I,
got rhythm though,
no, I
don't
don't.
you? Aren't you Puerto Rican?
No, I can't dance.
Like if I start playing maracas, will you not start?
Mm-mm. No,
What
I
the
can't
fuck?
dance. No,
So
I
you're
can't
too
dance.
white then.
Yeah, that's a problem. Yeah. But that's been
That
my
sucks.
approach.
You get all the melanin and the credit score, but you miss out on the rhythm. Oh,
Pretty
that's a
much.
horrible end of the deal.
Yep. There you go.
Oh, from Stripey Cat, he says, "Thank you for your service, Allie."
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
Or
Twitter.
he or her. I keep forgetting there might be girls in this chat, so I got to stop assuming people's gender.
Well, I think I have a 30% audience that's women, which is actually pretty big to have
It is.
30% female viewership. So I'm
I'm
proud of that one.
0.5%.
Oh gosh, what a sausage fest, man. How are you dealing with it?
It's fine. We just boot the boot the tards.
Yeah, I do that too. Is that wrong? I'm very quick.
No.
Like, okay.
Honestly, no. Look, I can't remember.
Mhm.
I first picked it up from Reddit. There was like a theory of Reddit subreddit where people were talking about this like social communities online.
Mhm.
And the loud minority really do ruin people's content. Because how was it put to me? The way the guy actually did numbers for this just on like Tumblr in
Okay.
action, some goofy subreddit, right? There is 1 million people, or like I'll just use basic numbers, like 1,000 people go to that site every day to go view content. Of those
Mhm.
ones, maybe like 5% of them have an account. And of
Mhm.
those 5%, maybe 1% will like or upvote or comment. And of
Mhm.
those, predominantly it's negative comments, people there to bitch. Because when somebody's happy, you just like something and move on. But when you're angry, you
That's
got to
true.
type it out.
Mhm.
And so his point was, if you start focusing on that hyper negative minority of a minority of a minority, you end up catering the content to their anger and avoiding the 99% of people who just want to go there and have fun. And this is something I kind of took to heart on this when I realized, like, you see some asshole in the chat saying stuff. You got to realize there's 10,000 people who like your stuff, don't have this negative attitude.
Mhm.
And then if you cater to this one guy, you're alienating the rest of them, which is great in the short term, but in the long term, it kind of like, yeah, you know how many, like 21 Convention, that channel, it's got like 250,000 subscribers. They get as many views as I do per video because they were constantly chasing that anger dragon.
Oh yeah, well I found that YouTube channels that are built on, I guess, like hate or just dunking on people for the most part don't succeed, except for like Fresh and Fit. But I think it's because they're like talking to women in real time. But no, it never lasts long for those folks. Like they really can't get engagement, viewership, or anything like that. So very much like I think the long game is what to do with most things in life. But I think that's a kind of what I get upset with. My husband says I want people to just be good. I can't imagine being a woman coming across, red pill content and not capitalizing on my peak SMV. And that's what some of these women, they just like, they don't do it. I'm like, are
Some
you
girls do.
stupid?
You'd be surprised. There's actually, Chesty will remember this. There was this chick, I'll call her Claire because I think that was her name. She was a Midwest girl, like the cheerleader type. Very cute, very attractive, complete book nerd. She found this place after her fiance cheated on her and was just like, oh, whatever, you'll put up with it. I'm like a stockbroker kind of shit, right? She read everything. She knew more about the red pill than Rollo, like that kind of book nerd. And then she kind of learned the stuff that she could. She kind of was just a wallflower, never really talked very much. Ended up getting a new guy within a year, new husband, basically took what she needed and moved on, which is what I wish most people would do.
Right.
Another one, Darla. She was in her mid 40s. She was like one of those New York boss bitches, had a fashion industry thing. She married a dude, and as soon as they had a kid, he stopped working. She's like, I'm just going to be lazy or whatever. And then she left him. And this is the part that red pilled her, is that the courts, because he didn't have a job, she had to pay alimony to him. Yeah. So she got red pilled immediately. And then she started talking to dating coaches, and they say what you say. Stop nagging. Don't try and compete with the guy. Just be pleasant and look good. She ended up marrying this guy, Doug. He was like a firefighter in his late 40s, early 50s. They both had kids, and they're married, and they were happy as shit. And he just has like a firefighter salary in New York, and she had her high-flying fashion thing. So there's a lot of chicks who use this red pill stuff. It's just you never hear about them because they're not trying to clout chase. You're like one of the few. You and there was this girl, Danny California, found on the channel, were the ones that like weren't afraid to talk about it online. And I think I wish more guys would pay attention to it, because you're seeing the smart girls are the ones that just listen and then take advice and then act on it and then succeed.
Yeah.
And it's like
Yeah.
3 out of like 10,000 do that. So congratulations being part of the elite.
No, thanks. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say that it's easy either. Because I think well, I think
Oh
one
no,
of the
it's just
thing
this. But keep your point. I'll
I
talk about this
wanted to
after.
know about this woman actually. I don't know about her. I've heard that she basically came in for male attention and then left, and I've been trying to look her up to see what she looked like, see if she was even cute in the first place.
She used to be.
Well, I'm trying to find it.
Okay, so Donovan's wife, Dev,
Right.
was friends with this chick, and they were like Vegas girls, so like ridden hard, put away wet types. I'm not talking Dev, I'm talking about
Yeah,
this one.
we know not Dev. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And she was all about the male attention, and she was like, I'm the chick in the red pill space, it's awesome. And then most of us, like, we knew what happens when girls get in here. They generally clout chase and then discard things, start a lot of drama. She was
Right.
constantly messaging like me and Rolo and them saying, trying to turn us against each other. This show is great, but if you kicked off Donovan, and tell Rolo, if you kicked off Ryan, and told me if you kicked
I
off
hate
Rolo.
when women do that.
But it's
Like-
funny because we know this stuff because we've already talked about it from Red Pill, so we just kind of laughed it off. And then she got vicious and mad and started ranting. Same as that Rose chick. Remember the one that was like mad that she was 36 and couldn't find a man, and then she hated on you because you got one or something?
Oh man, she's still crazy to this day. Crazy
So it's
to this
basically
day.
that.
Okay.
And then every 6 months
Huh.
she would start a new account and try and get like in here and do shit. It was just fucking weird and cringe.
Oh, I see. Okay. Interesting. Weird.
Dev!
That's why I don't like, I'm telling you, this is why I have a hard time socializing with women. It's like, man, because I
You're in
can see
Thunderdome.
it. I can see it when they're baiting you to get private details about your life. And there's a female content creator that I've socialized with her on multiple occasions, and it just always has that vibe. And I don't talk to her anymore. It doesn't make any sense to do it because actually it's dangerous, right? These women are trifling. Shout out to Do Rag Man saying, Allie, why am I on
Dark
this
Knight Dev, he's a
podcast?"
regular channel. He's switched on. He knows the memes.
He's great. He's sweet. So he actually politely disagrees with me too. He said, Allie, why am I on this podcast over here? We don't shame Christian housewives. Ryan, take her White Claw and hold her accountable. You can't. I mean, my favorite thing about you is like you were like, hold women accountable to who?
Well, like what woman? When people say that, hold women accountable, which women? Like, do you know their names? Or is it just this abstract concept called women? Because you saw some ratchet ass hoes on Instagram.
Oh yeah.
Chesty coined the term red pill dudes, the red pill aware dudes, the ones we're making fun of. They think about women in the abstract. Like if you want to hold women accountable, hold the one in your life accountable. Like your husband, hold you accountable because he's invested in you, but not some random fucking hoe on a podcast somewhere.
He does. Can't stand it.
Yeah,
but I need it.
I know, but yeah, it's the same thing with my girl. Like if she crosses a boundary, I'll enforce a boundary, and then she can be mad about that, and that's her right. She's allowed to get mad when I decide I'm not putting up with something. She's allowed to leave. I don't think she will because I've put in work to make sure I'm valuable in her life and she's valuable in mine.
Right.
And this is why I like your agnostic husband. It's that he kind of accepts that every day is a choice, like he wakes up every day and decides I'm staying with her. I wake up every morning and think I'm staying with her. Because divorce is whatever. You can divorce for whatever reason. So now that there's no reason you have to be together, you get to focus on wanting to be together.
Right.
And that's when you do stay in shape, you stay thin. He knows you want a baby. He gives you a baby. Maybe he wants one too. Maybe he doesn't, whatever. But everybody's getting what they want from this and everybody's treating each other well. So you're making a choice, an investment. And it's easy to make the investment because the sexual attraction, the physical attraction, the emotional attraction is there. And those are the intangibles that make everything else possible. And I think this is why it's so hard for red pill wannabe guys to become red pilled, is you have to understand that people act right when you incentivize them to act right. And that when you're more valuable with them than away from them.
Yeah, I just think attraction is so important. Like, I'm gonna be honest. Like, I don't think I could, if I wasn't attracted to my husband, I'm just not sure I'd be able to stay married. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't think that you can. Because how are you supposed to solve a disagreement with somebody and you can't stand being naked around them? You just I feel like you just look at them in genuine disdain, like over breakfast. Like, I'm just waiting for you to say something stupid. Go ahead. I want it to come out of your mouth. Let's hear it.
and you know what? And they don't, and they look at you and they're like, I'm gonna yell at that bitch instead. That's what's happening. I want to yell at my husband. He's such a prick and he's fat and he's lazy and he puts up with my shit, but I'm gonna yell at this Allie chick because she said losing weight's a good thing. Fuck that bitch.
Oh yeah. Well, I just said not to use pregnancy as a as an excuse to become obese. And these trad cath women, really, I had somebody defending an 80-pound weight gain in pregnancy. I'm like, what doctor would say that makes sense? Like, really, show me the doctor. Like, this
Maybe
is
if you had
straight
8
up crap.
or octuplets, the Octomom, didn't she have 8 at once? I can see 80 pounds for her.
Yeah, if you got multiples, yeah. And there's a thing about water retention, but I was never talking about water retention. I was talking about body fat. I was talking about body fat, ladies, but because I thought that I had to get pregnant and fat, right? I was like, I'm just doomed. Yeah. I'm doomed to look like a cow. And I just started noticing some things, and I was like, wait a minute. I was like, I don't have to get fat.
No, guys learned this in the 90s. You don't do dirty bulking. You do clean bulking all year. And then you can stay shredded and get healthy. Yeah,
but the nuts thing about it is you'll be pregnant for 5 minutes. People are like, you're eating for 2. So I did the research. You don't really need that many calories in the first trimester, but that's where the bad eating habits start. So, I mean, these women can be, feeling some type of way if they want, but I'm trying to be attractive, not just for myself, but yeah, for my husband. I want him to chase me around. Like, what's the BFD? Relax.
Well, you want him to be happy, and your happiness and his happiness are kind of connected, right?
Yeah, well, I don't want him to be ashamed of me in public. And I'm sorry, if you out here looking like a big Bertha, you're a man looking like a Greek god. There's a disconnect. You know what I mean? Maybe if he was fat too, okay, but I owe something to the abs. I owe something to the abs.
Pray to the ab god.
I know it.
Look at this. My God. Dev with the 5. Fuck, I got to talk about the cuck article now. Yeah, it's almost if people realize there's only desire and that the Industrial Revolution took away necessity, maybe be an attractive human being. That's essentially it. And it's such like a simple thing. Pre-eclampsia and gestational diabetes are the norm. I don't know what that means.
Oh, it's not true. So pre-eclampsia.
So what is pre-eclampsia gestational diabetes?
Preeclampsia is elevated blood pressure. So the thing that happens with that, if the only way you can stop eclampsia, because there's a preeclampsia stage, the only way you can stop eclampsia, because with high blood pressure that's uncontrolled, you can have a stroke, is to actually give birth. And that's why a lot of women that are eclamptic, they end up getting C-sections, because that's the only thing you can do to stop it. It's a weird design. I don't know what God was thinking on that one when it came to like childbirth. And then gestational diabetes is diabetes that develops while you're pregnant, but it's not the norm. It's what I saw, I think it was 8% of pregnancies, but it increased by 30%. So it is on the rise, right? And I think that's true. You know what I mean? But it comes,
fat people are on the rise. It has nothing to do with the pregnancy.
Yeah, well, so I mean, it can be obese women, but thin women get gestational diabetes too. But it comes from like you're just eating way too many carbs. Like pregnancy is a weird state to be in. It's not what the old machine was. So you just have to consider different factors. But like, oh, boo hoo, I want women to be healthy. My goodness, how could I? It's cap because
she's gone her whole life without being told what to do. Somebody tells her what to do. Of course, she's going to lash out.
Yeah, well, the white.
You ever tried to take candy away from a fat kid?
Oh, true.
Bite your hand off.
Well, I'm saying like the white chicks in LA get it. You know what I mean? But that's why they're married to millionaires and billionaires. I'm like, I'll do what I need to secure these goods, fam. I'll do what I need to.
It's just, I don't know. People just need to be happy, and I think they need this need to like complicate things. I know Rich, he's just like a catch term. Like people complicate their lives and then justify it or whatever he says. I think there's some truth to it. I think if you're not happy, you need to find a villain. Like, dude, I'm not conservative. I'm not really liberal either. But I'm amazed the paranoia that's in conservative circles. There's always, if it's not like the Jews, it's the women, or there's always somebody out to get you, right? Like it's never that you didn't do things right. It's always that somebody's coming to get you.
Yeah.
The Romans are coming. I don't get it. It's like and then they'll still brag about how like they're better than the liberal types who are doing victimization Olympics,
Oh, well, I think I found. Yeah, I think I found the right wing that the left has been complaining about. I mean, I get it. I have compassion for the left now. I'm like, I found these idiots. I understand what you're saying completely. But that's the thing about my brand or whatever. Okay, I'm too conservative for the liberals, but I'm too realistic for the conservatives. And so I just hang out in this weird politically homeless area where I don't know, one day it'll be an RPsburg, next it'll be a Tradcatsburg. I don't know who's left. The left, for some reason, hasn't really found me on Twitter yet. But like their arguments are just so dumb. Because obviously, I'm pro-life, right? But they're just always like, it's not even a human. I'm like, that's like the only argument you have, though. So if I think it's a human and you don't, like, where are we gonna get? We're not getting anywhere. We're not getting nowhere. Like, why are we having this conversation? It's like if I said the sky was blue, you're like, it's green. why are we talking? It's not going to
It's just
happen.
it's in group cheerleading.
Mhm.
But whatever. Yeah, I piss those off and occasionally. Usually what they do is they'll just point at my book. He's like, he's got the word fuck in the title. He thinks he's sexy. I'm like, I'm not the 36-year-old bitching about patriarchy on Twitter. Leave me alone.
The patriarchy's lit though. You know, they made
Doesn't
Wi-Fi.
exist.
Well, it used to, and it was nice for a time.
I don't think it did. I really
You
don't.
think? You think it's
all
always
these
been kind of
podcasts, they're talking about patriarchy, like live the old Catholic way, henpecked by their wives at home. I think it's a coping strategy.
Oh, you could be right. You could be right. But when I think about, so I do think that the patriarchy is real, but in this way only. And I don't think it's anything that conservative women think about or liberal women. So the patriarchy that would exist would be like global elites. So we're talking about billionaires, trillionaires, and actually probably trillionaires. So men,
Trillionaires,
I don't even
billionaires. Is that
I don't
the
know.
euphemism? The elves.
Yeah. So like these global elites men, right? When it
Yeah.
comes to economics and politics, they want the female vote and they want the female dollar. So they'll
Right.
tell us anything to get us to spend money and to vote for them. And so I think that's the real patriarchy. I don't think it's your husband telling you to wear a more covering shirt. Okay. I don't
So
think
you're
that's
talking like an emergent
patriarchy.
strategy, just people following their own best interest, and it happens to the people that are wealthy have an inordinate amount of influence.
Yeah, like think about it. These women get so excited, like, oh, this company supports my right to terminate my baby and they're gonna pay for a voucher. I'm like, you idiot, that's cheaper than maternity leave. Like, we gotta think big picture, sis. Big picture. Yeah.
I mean, in
there you
fairness, they're
go.
getting what they want, so we can't really fault them for it. But that's the whole thing. Everybody's just pandering right now. It's like
Yeah.
everybody's fighting over the heart of this like short-term marshmallow experiment failure of people. Here, guys, I'm going to give you a sex doll. Here, girls, I'm going to give you a free abortion. Everybody's like, yeah, sign me up. And meanwhile, they're just taking everything from you. And this is why I hate the looking for the authority, because all you're doing is you're letting people run your life for their own interest and not yours. So if you think for yourself, like you did, I'm just going to do what I got to do to get the man I want to get, make the decisions I got to make to be happy. And then you're happy. Like your Midwest thing. How much money do you need? And then you move to a place where the amount of money you need to be happy and the lifestyle you want kind of jive, right?
Yeah, I didn't think I was gonna live here, but the cost of living is so low, and all my friends back home in Central Florida, they got roommates. I was like, nah, that sounds like peasant living. I don't think so.
Yeah.
I'll be by the steak and the potatoes. I'm good.
And don't get me wrong, my girl and I, we talk like every couple weekends because Canada's kind of like, legalized. It's kind of fucked. So the idea of just selling this place and then moving off the grid somewhere, it's always like in the back of our minds, we might make that turn. But I'm with you. It's like we don't need much. I was earning 100 some thousand in corporate before I came here, and I decided to leave to talk to guys about their dicks. So I'm all for it.
Well, you're doing well with it, I think, which is like a testimony to entrepreneurship. That's something I do like about the red pill is like the pure entrepreneurial spirit, which I think is inherently masculine, but some people take it too far. Just be making money off of well, it's one thing to make money off of idiots if you have a product in a service that's good, right?
Yeah.
Actually valuable. But if your product is trash and you're still making money off people, that's when I start looking at you kind of sideways, where I'm like, you're not even trying. Like I lose respect for you. Your product sucks.
Instagram ass models. It's the same as the
man.
OnlyFans chicks that get like, or like Twitch streamers that get guys to give tier 3 subs. It's just guys are doing it now. Like Tate, he's like the amaranth of men. Remember her, the chick that used to do the hot tub streams?
Oh yeah. Which that whole thing was. That's what I'm saying about conservative women. They were like, amaranth is being abused, and I'm like, okay, yeah, but we're really going to pretend that domestic violence isn't, and when it does occur, that it's not like 50-50, and you don't think that there's anything that she could be contributing to this? Because you can tell she kind of unhinged, right?
Yeah.
You can tell.
Oh, yeah.
Dude,
Dude, she likes the abuse. I guarantee you.
Well, nobody wants to hear them say that, but like I grew up where I grew up, and I done seen it a few times, and it's like people do kind of get addicted to it, and it's exciting, and then it's not exciting, and it's just roller coaster. But around went back to her man, and that's what I don't like about conservative women. Or this thing happened with Elijah Schaefer. I don't know if you heard. Allegedly,
was she the one that Jack Murphy called the fucker, or told her to go fuck herself for asking about the cuck article? Was that her?
No, that's Sydney Watson.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I have a hard time telling these chicks.
Different thing. No, Elijah Schaefer is a man. So Elijah Schaefer, he got kicked off of The Blaze, right? Supposedly, allegedly, because he groped his married coworker, right? And I'm sitting here, like I've been around. I'd be observing things. I'm like, why do you guys think that there is zero possibility that a married woman might be shaking her rear end like his way. Like it just doesn't cross their mind. Like, no, she's vulnerable and married. I'm like, you don't know. And I feel bad for men too, because you're like, well, maybe this will turn out fine. I'm gonna try. And then it blows up in your face. Now, I'm not saying that's what happened. I don't have the details, but it's ridiculous with these conservative women. It's immediate benefit of the doubt.
Don't exist.
Yeah. And I'm like, they do. They totally do. It was nuts to me. Anyway, that's my rant about these conservative women, which also nobody asked the question, like, they're not married, they don't have kids. Now, I'll give it to the trad cath women on that, but I'm not convinced they love their husbands. But when it comes to conservative women, they're like, yeah, we got to bring back the nuclear family. I'm like, your womb it's empty though. Like, we gonna, like, how much we care about this conservative family thing, I just don't get it. I can't blame them. Hypergamy, right?
Well, that's like the human condition, isn't it? Where you want what you want, but then you have to come up with a story that makes you feel good. That's why you always see that. Remember that? Well, no, like great example is, like, I know it's a politics example. Trudeau, he was like, the truckers are terrorists. They're evil. We got to crack down on them. It was guys that were basically fighting for the right of free travel, like charter rights. It's like a constitutional thing for us. But then turns around and anybody else doing the exact same thing, he's like, we need to worry about human rights. Got to the point where the entire continent of Europe basically called him an asshole, a hypocritical asshole. But I think that's what people do. They need to believe that when I do it, there's a reason and it's okay. But when you do it, you got to appeal to these moral principles, because that makes me a good person, even though I'm not doing good things. But then you just realize it's all just kayfabe. They're lying to themselves and they want you to buy in on the lie. And when you don't buy in the lie, they yell on you on Twitter for 3 or 4 days. And you just move on and get some super chats saying, thanks for yelling at that trad cath bitch ex-wife of mine.
Interesting.
That was like literally referencing you.
No, it's fine. Like,
it's the sports, man. Ric Flair. Woo!
Woo! Yeah, I've tried to say so many times. Like, I have traditional values, yes, but am I a traditional woman? I found Jesus kind of late. I got 11 tattoos, no daddy.
Isn't that the prodigal son?
Oh, I'm the prodigal daughter, I guess.
The genders are equal, basically.
No, I think like women are included in mankind. Like that's another weird thing. Feminists coming out being like, womankind. I'm like, we were involved in mankind. Y'all don't. Nobody's picking it up. Like Fetterman, that guy that got a stroke. Do you follow American politics?
As much as I can avoid it, I do, but I can't help. Osmosis, right?
Right. Okay. So you remember Dr. Oz is Republican now because he made a tweet about that. You're like,
yeah, I didn't know that. I was like, what? The Oprah guy? And then he's apparently going against like a giant retard or something, and he lost to the giant retard.
Oh yeah. Well, so the thing about him was Dr. Oz is going against this guy for Senate. His name is Fetterman.
Right.
Fetterman had a stroke. Like, couldn't even really talk. If you were to, I'm trying to think, if I had to talk,
no, I know what the stroke talking is like.
Yeah, well, he's like, doctor has cleared me, I will serve. He believes it is right for me to serve, I will serve. Doctor cleared me, and he just like keeps repeating these really short things, right? Obviously, the man is like mentally disabled. Now I'm trying to figure out what's wrong with Democrats. They keep trying to put disabled people in office. I think it's just cruel at this point. Oh my gosh, what was even my point with that?
Honestly, I think that's probably right. Like maybe it's because of the Canada system, but you don't actually vote for your own MP or your own, I guess their equivalent of your House member, because they're all just going to vote the party line. You got a party whip that says like you will vote what Trudeau says if you're a Liberal member, or you're going to backbench.
Well,
so I mean, putting a retard or a stroke victim in there kind of makes sense, because then at least you're honest. You're going, he's going to vote whatever Biden says, right?
Well, okay, when he ran, one of the stunts he pulled was Fetter Woman, because his name is Fetterman, and he was like Fetter Woman, and kind of all these feminist t-shirts. Oh man, yeah. So it's interesting over here. The gynocentric social order, I'm over it, but I don't know if I'm necessarily convinced that what would an androcentric social order. Because like a lot of these, you know what I'm saying? Like most people aren't nothing. So it's like most men, I'm like, I don't know. But the top 20% of men, the Pareto principle, I want them in charge. All right? I do. I'm sorry. I want them in charge. That's my perspective. I don't know.
I hate to say it, but I think I'm becoming more libertarian, where it's just like, whenever any political change happens, how can I carve out the most personal success from this situation? I've just given up expecting people to do anything that's beneficial to anybody. I've still got a little bit of
Yeah.
hope in me. Like I'm still a big fan of like the trucker convoy. I've been watching the hearings, but
What are they doing to him? Because they one of these ladies that got invited in to the Capitol was like some old woman that was getting waved in
Mhm.
by like security. She probably didn't really understand what was going on or anything like that. They put her in jail. So what's going on with these Canadian truckers?
Just
What are they
stomped her
doing to
with horse.
them?
Well, there's a lot of them got arrested. A lot of their property was seized. Bank accounts were frozen. The GoFundMe was absconded. They're being sued. But here's the
Mhm.
thing. In the next 2 years, you're probably going to find a lot of these lawsuits have no merit. A lot of people are going to have lawsuits to come back, but by then the thing's gone. But if you watch the hearings right now, and they're the most boring 14 hours of your life, I'm telling you right now.
Oh,
You're
okay.
like, like these people really exist. The Ottawa Liberal Party of Canada types are like snowflakes. Like this one guy, Paul Champ, he's the lawyer. He was talking about, do you guys realize this is like domestic terrorism? And the way he described it was like any blue collar life. Like you imagine having to wake up to the sound of a diesel engine, to have to smell diesel at your place. And then the chick who was running it, she's like, yeah, that's kind of like my life every day. So I don't understand how this is terrorism.
Oh, yeah, it's a
It's literally
woman that
soft,
helped.
weesh people who didn't realize that working class people have working class lives. And he was like, had such disdain for them.
That's what like when anytime like a liberal elite talks, it's just like you really don't know what we're going through down here. But people keep voting for him. Now I don't like it's not like I think Republicans have all the answers. I just think like we get a lot of hate for the MAGA Republicans, right? So
Yeah.
the thing is though, I believe in populism. So Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump, they were both populists.
Mhm.
A lot of people refuse to connect these two dots here. So if we could get populist Republicans, I think that might actually be of benefit and service to people. Or if I could get a populist Democrat, I might consider it as well. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, if women would just
Yeah,
be nice and pleasant and lose weight and fuck their husbands, the world would be a better place.
I
Wish in one
know.
hand, shit in the other, see what fills up first.
Yeah, somebody said this is an interesting theory that the two parties are basically neutral right now. That like nobody really has faith in the other one. So we're just like at a stalemate as a country.
Something's gonna break.
Yeah.
Eventually. I don't
Good.
want it to break, but it'll probably break, and it'll probably be not as bad as everybody thinks, and the preppers will. It's the end of the world. You notice how it's the end of the world every 2 years? Everything's gonna go to
Yeah.
hell, and then 2 years later, they're like, no, this time we're serious.
No, I always think about it though, because I think about war, right? Like I think about like supply chains getting disrupted. I think about food getting disrupted, energy getting disrupted, and all these other things. It never happens. But I don't want to get complacent and think that it could never happen. Because nobody thought, nobody ever thinks it's gonna happen, and then it happens. But to be real, like I don't really know what I could do about it.
Nothing.
Like I don't nothing.
I mean, you know how to cook. No,
Talk about
I'm
being a war
not even
bride?
joking. Like,
Mm.
I remember when the pandemic hit and then like store shelves were not getting filled very well. The one thing that
Mhm.
was always there was like bags of rice, bags of flour. My girl learned how to make sourdough for fun. We already knew how to cook,
Aw.
like, dried beans, stuff like that. And like everybody's talking, they're all worried about shit. I'm like, just go without eating lobster for a couple days.
Yeah, I see your
Yeah.
point on that one. I see your point.
But it wasn't really as
Oh.
bad as we thought it was going to be. Remember when that chick crashed in the Suez Canal and like 40% of world trade stopped overnight? Did you have to go without? Like, I couldn't buy a PlayStation 5, but that was about it.
A woman did that?
Yeah. Oh, you didn't know. Yeah, it was like some 23, 24-year-old like Iranian chick that crashed into
makes it
the
better.
Suez Canal. And it's funny, I've been through the Suez Canal. It's not like the Panama Canal. It's a lot bigger. So to crash
Oh.
into the side there, it's pretty like it's hard.
Look, I'm being honest. I don't think women can drive. I'm sorry. I don't because I had a girlfriend hit a bus. I had a girlfriend hit a pole. I hit somebody at a stop sign once because their car blended in with the shade of the day, right? So
Oh.
yeah, like the sun was setting or something, and it's like the car paint whatever was in there matched. And I'm sorry, I don't think we're as good at it. I know that men take more risks driving, that's why they crash more, but
Mm.
you can't convince me. I'm sorry, and it's a very subjective observation, but I don't think we'll ever, due to the gynocentric social order, I don't think there's ever going to be a study in academia that comes out and says women can't drive. Like they're not doing that. They're
No,
never
it's
going
not
to do
going to pass
that.
an ethics board. It'll
It's
never
not
pass
gonna-
an ethics board.
We think this study might be sexist. We'll never find out.
Yeah. Oh, whatever. Fuck it. Anyways, we're running low on time here. Does any closing thoughts? Because I got to get ready for Rule 0 and for a bit here. This has been fun. We are doing this again. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I don't know what we'll call it. I don't want to like feminize it, but I want to make it cool. So I don't know what name you come up with, but you come up
We'll
with a name.
we'll wordsmith some shit.
Wordsmith. Oh,
Yeah.
maybe Iron Maiden. Okay.
Iron Maiden.
Or what is it? Red Pill Maiden? I don't know. Well,
Let's try to see if we can avoid red. Everybody,
Red?
I know this is Red Morning. I get it, but let's try to avoid a red or a pill reference. See if we can be
Okay.
more creative than that.
What if we pissed off Rolo and it's like the rational male and the rational female, and then we stop. I could just see his forehead vein. He'd be like, "You guys, no."
We
Moving
both show
on.
up in beanies.
I'm tempted, but no. What I would say in closing is you just talk to women, and we can't help that we're women. The thing, one of the things that I think might actually be kind of gay about the red pill is they say that they want women, but then they want us to think like men, and they want to take the woman out of the woman, and that's not going to happen. You're just going to have to learn how to roll with it. I will say, if you're the best guy that ever slept with in her life, I think that's a contributing factor. Not very Christian advice, but I think with the
Good dick is the great equalizer.
Yeah, it is. It is. And I understand if you can't do it because she's had too many experiences, but that would be her fault. But just talk to women. We're human and we do horrible things too. And sometimes we don't shower. It's okay. You love us anyway. There's nothing we can do. Like, what do I not like about men?
Where to start?
Where to start? What do I not like
the narcissistic fantasies, the complete delusional attitudes. The ones that are being raised as defective women have literally taken the worst parts of women and turned it into their identities.
Yeah, I would say that's true. And yeah, when it comes to no one's ever going to be 100% happy 100% of the time in a relationship. So you just adjust. You'll be fine. That's my closing thought. Not very philosophical. Just want to let you guys know that we're human.
Philosophy is just jerking off anyway. At least this is realistic.
All
right, so that's it, guys. Don't forget Allie's channel. I'll put a link to it in the description. Although, you're way bigger than me. They'll probably know yours if they know mine.
Well, I stan you all the time, so I'm sure there's going to be theories about that one day. Whatever. It's
dude, it's in the Twitter. The first guy's like, I hope she sees this, bro. It's like, dude, I'm not trying to fuck a pregnant chick. Cry out loud.
Well, I mean, that's number one, but number two, I don't think I'd have a snowball's chance in hell with you, my guy. It don't work that way. Like, I know
my ego's fine. I don't need a fluffing. Thank you very much.
No, I don't get it.
I just don't like colored chicks. I don't know. Don't take it offense.
No, it's fine. Hey, look, man, I get it. There's some people that I wouldn't date based on race as well, just because it's a preference. It's got nothing to do with anything else. But yeah, there you go. That is
fun.
All I have.
We could be frenemies. No, honestly, it was actually my mom. She was all that. She brainwashed me as a kid. Redheads and black chicks and natives. She had low-key racism to all of them because I think she had friends of each one of those growing up and she hated those chicks.
Yeah.
So yeah, plus my niche when I was running game was chicks that hated their dad and wanted to date a colored guy, but not so colored that it was scary. So I was in that weird niche in the middle there.
Oh, you know what I can say for sure. Never been interested in Canadian men. I don't blame you. Never. It's never been. I've never been you know what? This is my dream in life. I'm gonna go find a Canadian man. I would just always been into. I like nerdy redneck lumberjacks if that's an option. I'm trying to get my husband to keep wearing more flannels. Winter's here, so I think I can get it. So
let me get this straight. I don't like Canadians. I just like nerds that wear flannel.
Yeah, but are buff.
Wear flannel and drink beer, bud. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, those are Canadian men?
That is Canada. That's the Canadian stereotype.
That's annoying. No, that's the accent. I'm sorry, can't do it. But you guys have a fab day. Have fun on Rule 0. Do your thing. Smash the Spurgs.
Yeah. Anyways, okay, guys. That's it. I'm gonna do the thing. Where's my stupid outro? Oh, I know what we're gonna end on.
Not Ryan Stone. I think he's the most important guy in the world. Ryan Stone. Give a about Ryan Stone. Me and him have gone back and forth. Blah blah. Blah. Ryan Stone does not pass the 6 foot test. He's not even a man. So I don't give